Always two there are. No more, no less. A master and an apprentice.
But which was destroyed, the master or the apprentice?
Star Wars coming up next.
Welcome back to Nerd is a New Cool podcast. My name is John. With me, as always, is my good friend Justin Hildebrand.
Hey guys.
And we have some special guests. It's a Lambert takeover of Nerd is a New Cool today. Hildebrand, the Justins are outnumbered. We've got frequent guest, my older brother,
Hey,
Andrew
everybody.
Lambert. In town from Columbus, Ohio, my twin brother, the often spoken about but never seen Matt Lambert.
Howdy.
And then we also have, he is an Eagle Scout, a member of the National Honor Society, 2021 Missouri State Water Polo Champion, 2022 Top 10 finisher in the 50 and 100 free, the 2023 Doug Hall Missouri Water Polo Player of the Year, 2023 Hunsaker Award finalist at the University of Redlands, SIAC, which is the Southern California Intercollegiate Athletic Conference Academic All-American, and 2024 SIAC Conference Champion and 2024 Division III National Champion, which, by the way, is the first Bulldogs team to accomplish that feat in the same season in school history. Number 8 in your programs, but number 1 in your hearts, Mr. Adam Lambert.
I did play a little water polo.
You play a little water polo.
Man, his resume is a lot better than mine.
Way
Mine
better
too,
than mine.
man. Jeez.
Yeah, you just got twin brother, and see you later, Matt.
Yeah,
Another
I know,
Matt.
right?
Yeah,
Well, he's always back again. Yeah, Andrew Lambert. Oh, yeah, that guy.
he's here.
I'm not sure. Did you actually say that he's also Andrew's son?
Yes, he is Andrew's son.
Okay, all right.
Also my son.
Put that in there.
Welcome to the show, kiddo.
Yeah, so we got a gaggle Lamberts here, and it's a little overwhelming. But luckily, we're here to talk about one of my favorite topics, maybe not favorite episodes, but one of my favorite topics, which is Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Why are we talking about it? Because believe it or not, it has been 25 years since this incredible movie came out. So let's start with some initial thoughts, which is basically like, when did you first see it? I'm going to start with my co-host, John.
I saw it with you.
I know the answer, but tell everyone else.
So we would have seen it. I was actually thinking about that this morning. It probably would have been the midnight showing the night before, so like Thursday, the midnight showing at probably the Esquire Theater, the day that it opened.
That's right. We were back from college,
Yep.
and we went and saw it. One of the first things we probably did afse freshman year.
No, this was-
After senior year.
after
It was
we graduated.
wrapping up
Yeah.
senior year.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Matt, you're our same age, obviously.
Yes.
One person's exact same age. When did you first see it?
Okay, so this is a funny conversation. I was thinking about it last night, and I was thinking about it this morning. I have no idea. I literally do not remember. Usually I don't remember a lot of things. And this one is a total blank slate. Like, I know I saw it, but I can't tell you when or with who or at any point in time. It is completely blank inside of my head. I'm like, I know I went to go see it, but I couldn't tell you who I went to see it with. Couldn't tell you when I saw it.
How many times did you see
Right,
it? in
I
the
have
theaters?
no idea. Like, I know I saw it in theaters, but I don't remember who I went with or when I went. Because I know it wasn't with you guys, because you guys went to that midnight showing, and I'm 99% sure I wasn't there.
Yeah. I'm not as confident that you may have been there. I don't remember.
I
But-
don't think I was.
I can't recall.
I know one Lambert was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if it speaks to the fact that we've probably seen this movie a ton of times, and so maybe
Oh, yeah.
the initial screening doesn't show up or doesn't come to mind. Honestly, the trailer for me is what comes to mind. Like, I remember seeing that.
Oh, yeah. And the movie
vividly
poster.
when that came out.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's going to be a fucking banger. We'll talk more if it was or not later on. Andrew, what about you? You're older than us. Where were you when you first saw
Yep.
this?
So I was about to graduate from Mizzou. We didn't see it the midnight show, but we did see it the next day. And I'm almost certain we saw it 6 times in a row. So one of my good friends, Eric Foster, bought tickets for everybody. And I think he'd had a job at the time already, so he was making money. And we saw it, I think, 10 a.m. through 10 p.m.
So you just
that day.
stayed
We just
in the
went.
theater?
Yeah, we just lived in the theater that entire day and just hopped from one to the next. And we had tickets for everything. We weren't like, just hanging out in the movie theater.
Buy
We
one
actually
set of tickets and then just
No, we had legit tickets for every single show that we saw that day, and we saw it. I think genuinely, I think we saw it 6 times in a row. So by the end, I could quote it, which
That's
was awesome.
a lot of hours to.
It's a lot of Star Wars. Yeah, but it's fucking Star Wars.
That was a lot of Star Wars.
And it was we'll get into this, but yeah, I mean, there's lots of good reasons why we saw it so many times that day.
I'm not even mad. I'm impressed. All right, the youngster Adam. First time you saw this movie.
Your guess is as good as mine. Probably sitting in a chair somewhere, way too young to remember, at home. And then once a week, and then once a month since then.
Yeah.
And then
It's great parenting.
Dude, we started early. I think
Really
the first time you saw a Star Wars film, you were probably months old.
yeah.
And this one, you would have seen it on DVD first in our first house, and then subsequently Blu-ray, and then subsequently now streaming.
This is like you guys have the same parenting styles I talk about my parents, which is like, here's a really good movie, just like, I'll keep you busy for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we quite were like that, but I mean, I would sit down and watch it with him, right? So like, it was definitely a family affair.
Well, so what I'm curious about is how did everyone rewatch it, if you did at all? And I'll go ahead and start. I didn't need to rewatch this at all, but I was like, this is a good reason for me to have to watch this movie for the umpteenth millionth time. Who knows? So I pulled out my Blu-ray box set.
Nice.
Just because I was like, what's in this thing?
Just because you could.
Just because I could. Right, I'm trying to flex here. There's a lot of things in this Blu-ray box. It said the entire saga, which we all know now it's not true. It was 1 through 6. So at the time, apparently I got this before 7, 8, 9 had come out. It had overviews, it had interviews, it had a whole bunch of deleted scenes, which were wild. They were like unfinished deleted scenes. You kind of see like, it's almost like you got
So
the
it's
actors.
like the blue screen behind them.
Yeah, or like maybe like a puppet or something like that,
yeah.
or like an unfinished like I don't know, CGI. It was
I'm at best with Jar Jar on his head.
Luckily, there weren't any Jar Jar deleted scenes that I noticed. They even had parodies on there. And I read an article about George Lucas. Apparently, when he saw Weird Al's song, he actually loved it so much that he like called him up and was like, "That's amazing. Also, can I put it on my box sets or whatever for this movie and whatnot?" And of course, Weird Al's like, "Yeah, let's do that." So, Adam, what about you? How'd you rewatch it?
We watched it yesterday, but we also watched it in theaters this past summer.
Yeah.
For the 25th.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was cool to be able to see it in theaters for the first
It's the
time.
first time you'd ever seen it in the theater. Yeah, that's cool.
That's the first time I'd ever seen any Star Wars in theaters prior to Episode 7.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely hits.
yeah, sure enough.
Any of those Star Wars I've
Yeah,
never
no
seen.
kidding. Wow.
We were lucky, John and I, to be able to see, and actually all 4 of us probably, to go see 4, 5, and 6 when they re-released those into the theaters. I don't know if you. I'm assuming you all saw them. I could be wrong.
Well, I know. I know
We
saw
did.
them.
I know me and John.
Yeah,
saw them.
we definitely saw them.
I did. So actually, my wife and I went to 4 together. We were both. I don't even know where we were. We saw it in some foreign country when it came out.
All right. What makes this movie great? I've got a couple things. I want to hear everyone's opinions. First of all, we just kind of, the aforementioned Return of the Jedi, this is the first Star Wars release since that movie came out. So it had been over almost 20 years, right? So it had been 16 years, basically, 83. So clearly like a huge deal. As we already said, the originals had already been released in theaters. So like they did that really, really wisely, I think, re-releasing those every year leading up to like the grand release of this one. I also think for me, and let's talk about this, I feel like this is our generation of Star Wars films, right? What do you think about that, John?
Yep.
Like this is what we grew up on, right?
This is what we grew up on. I mean, obviously, we were exposed to 4, 5, and 6 at a young age, but no, yeah, these were our.
I guess it's not that we grew up on them because we grew up on the originals.
We grew up on the originals, but like these obviously we were 18 years old when this movie was released.
So
this
you
is
watch
kind of ours.
You watch TV shows like That 70s Show, and there's like a whole episode dedicated to them going to see Star Wars in the theater,
right?
And they keep going back and back, and I was like, that's exactly how I felt when I saw this movie.
Yeah.
Knowing
that there were going to be 2 more, knowing that they were going to do a trilogy,
right?
Yeah.
Well, what makes this great, Andrew? What do you think is?
I think you guys kind of hit it where this was the first new Star Wars movie released since, what was it, 1983 or whatever, when Jedi came out. And the amount of just built up anticipation. There'd been books and games and all of, like, there had been Star Wars in the intervening, years, but not a film. and just the build up to this, so the ad campaign around it, it was everywhere, and people were obsessing over episode 1 since they heard that it was going to be a thing. And so yeah, I think just the whole anticipation of the film coming out made it really, really special. I will say, like, this isn't my Star Wars. Mine were 4, 5, and 6. I saw 4 when I was very, very young, 5 and 6 as I was a kid. And so, I saw this more of like cool, but I didn't see it as necessarily mine.
We wore out those VHS tapes.
Oh, yeah, we did.
I mean, legit. I mean,
Yeah.
4, 5, and 6, we watched all the time at home.
Yeah.
I mean, we watched those. We had that VHS box set. I think I actually still have it.
I have a VHS box set. It's not that one.
I think
I've
I
had
have.
at
I
least
stole
3
the
of them.
one. I think I stole the one that Dad had.
Yeah.
Like legit, I stole it from him. I'm pretty sure I still have it. It's in the basement.
Yeah.
Can I
You
ask
know.
you this question?
Yeah.
I'll ask you 2 questions. First question about that box set. Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Does it have the newer, updated, like,
It doesn't.
dance or the original?
It has the
one?
original.
OG.
It has the original in it.
Okay, that's the best one. Whenever I don't want to say that's not going to happen today, but if you ever are with me and you get me to have a few cocktails, I will do a interpretation of that original dance. And if you want to jump in and join me, it's delightful.
Yes.
I don't know what I'm saying,
No.
but it's amazing. So, what's your relationship to just to Star Wars, man?
Well, so like, like John and Andrew were talking about, was the build up to the movie was crazy, but prior, the between times are weird. The between Return of the Jedi and when Episode 1 came out, there was a lot of Star Wars content that really started to pick up steam, say late 80s, early 90s. That's where really everything kind of started to take off in the other type of things, right? You had Tim Zahn's Heir to the Empire trilogy of books, right? And so that's when a lot of people finally kind of decided to get back into Star Wars to a certain degree. They're like, oh, Return of the Jedi, okay, it's all done. And then these authors and Lucasfilm and everybody decided, wait a second, there's more stories we can tell. We can start cranking some stuff out, right? And for better or for worse, some of it was okay. Some of it was less than okay. But that's the way all media is. But we played
TIE Fighter.
a TIE Fighter,
X-Wing.
X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. We played the original Dark Forces,
Forces.
Dark Forces 2, all the video games. I read a ton of the books. I know you read a bunch of the books too, Andrew. And you had this media of things that was going on. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to make a new movie. Wait, what? What new movie? What are you talking about? What is going to happen in this movie? And I remember seeing the trailer, and I remember talking about it with friends of trying to figure out what in the hell was going on in the trailer, right? Because they're just those little 5-second blops. This is happening. I mean, I remember one of the things was Darth Maul retracting his lightsaber in the trailer, right? Yeah. Who the hell is that guy? And he's got a red lightsaber, so he's got to be cool, right? Like out of the gate. You're like, okay, what's going on?
He's got to be a bad guy.
Obviously, he's a bad guy, right? Who is that guy? And then you've got some weird CGI guy with the stubbly beard, right? And like, who the hell is that guy? What's he doing? And then you have all of these droids and tanks and stuff that you kind of see off to the side, and things are happening. And everybody's like, okay, what is going on right now? And so we were all guessing. Like, I remember some of us were guessing, like, we saw the tanks, like, rolling in the trailer. There's a scene where, like, the tanks are rolling, and then all of these droids start coming out of the tanks or whatever at one point in the trailer. And we're all sitting there, and we're like, okay, is this the Clone Wars? Right? Like legit, because those have always been talked about. Oh, I fought with your father in the Clone Wars. Wait, what? What the hell was that? And wait, is this the Clone Wars? Is that what we're going to start talking about now? Is that the story that's going to be generated from this movie? So we had all kinds of weird speculation. We had no idea what we were walking into. And so some of us were a little curious about what the hell the movie was actually about after we saw it. So we're like, what the hell was that?
I think the marketing team, and I know we're kind of jumping ahead, but let's just talk about what the marketing for this movie was. I mean, the marketing behind this movie was so brilliant. Like, number one, the trailer was just like chef's kiss for fan service.
Oh, yeah.
You're dropping all these little hints, these subtle nods to the originals, plus this new technology, plus the John Williams, soundtrack overlaid over the top of it. And those quick hits on that trailer is what kind of got you super amped up about it. And then even like back then it was like movie posters. Right? Adam probably doesn't even know what those are. Like he's probably seen them on IMDb or something. But they actually had posters and they would hang these things up. And they still have them outside major movie theaters.
Yeah.
But I had that one in my dorm room, which was
the
little kid walking, and then you've got Darth Vader.
Darth Vader shadow
that was
behind. Absolutely. That was brilliant.
That was my computer
marketing.
desktop.
Yeah.
That was brilliant marketing. It was fantastic. They did a great job.
Well, and something that Star Wars and Lucas, in fact, has always done is like really lean into marketing, but tying it into like those ancillary products, like those toys. You mentioned the toys, right? And that's what I grew up with. That was my first introduction to Star Wars was here's a bunch of toys, also the movies that go along with it. And then as you get older, you play Dark Forces and I even played the Empire Strikes Back game on NES.
Oh my God.
Which is like considered one of the hardest games of all time.
Yes.
But like it really like all of that leads to like this point in time where Lucas is basically kind of like they kind of take the handcuffs off, or I should say he gets the key to take the handcuffs off because he gets Hasbro to basically give him over $100 million to produce this first movie. And because of that, there's no oversight or little oversight, little feedback. And so now he's got like basically the keys to the kingdom. And so he not only makes this movie, obviously 2 and 3, but then he goes back and redoes 4, 5, and 6 to update the technology to where he always envisioned them being at one point.
Right.
Lambert, what's your relationship? Anything different than
Room full of
I can't
Lamberts.
say Lambert, right? It's gonna fuck me up. Jonathan Lambert. Sorry. Is there anything else that, as far as impact, that what's your relationship? How does your relationship differ than maybe what Matt said or what I've said? Or even Andrew.
Not really. I mean, it's all little bits and pieces of what Andrew said, what you said, and what Matt said. My relationship, it's evolving now. Just with my kids, I have a video I can show you of my 2-year-old, soon to be 2-year-old, watching this because I rewatched this 2 nights ago on Disney Plus, and he's just. Whoa. Well, he doesn't know what he's looking at, but he was so enamored by it. And my daughter actually asked for it. Just Star Wars. And I said, oh, well, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can watch that. Unfortunately, like I turned to Megan. She was like, hey, your kids only get to see Star Wars the first time once. And I said, well, if I was really starting them on Star Wars, I wouldn't start them with this movie.
Right. But we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Oh yeah.
So
okay.
So the evolution of that'll change my relationship with it.
It does.
You sent an amazing picture too the other day, or I'm sorry, your wife sent me an amazing picture of it was Wes, and I think you and Siona were on the couch watching it, and video of Wes like
that
talking
was,
to the TV. I was like, well done.
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to have finally a dissenting, not even dissenting, but just like a differing opinion of a relationship to Star Wars than maybe us old folks have. So Adam, tell us about like what's your current relationship with Star Wars in any way?
It was already out when I was born, and so I didn't have any of the memories of going to see it in the movies for the first time and then the third time and then the fifth time, or even having the background of knowing that I was even alive during 4, 5, and 6. And so we started out, and I could not tell you how many times we watched them, and we had a bajillion toys and all of the Lego sets and the massive Millennium Falcon that was bigger than me, and everything to do with Star Wars was always around. Specifically, the animated Clone Wars show was always on, and I still to this day rewatch it.
We watched the shit out of that
because it is an awesome show.
Yeah.
I can quote it almost all the way.
I admit I like that show too. Don't worry about it.
It's awesome. But it's just it's always been there. It's always been, and I've always known that I liked Star Wars.
I think what's interesting for you compared with us is like there's not been a time in your life where there hasn't been Star Wars.
Yes.
Right? Whereas from 1983 until 1999, like there was Star Wars, but you had to seek it out. Like you had to go buy a book. You had to play a game. You had to play Star Wars Monopoly or whatever. But like since you've been around, there's almost always been either a show or a movie or a cartoon or some kind of Star Wars content like easily available. I just think that's that's really interesting.
I think that's a good segue into like how should we watch these films? Like, I mean, obviously we're going to talk about Phantom Menace in great depth here in a second, but it's interesting to have the conversation of how do you introduce someone to Star Wars, right? There are a lot of different orders. Let's just talk movies. Let's talk the first 6 movies. Right. You can add 7, 8, 9 on there if you want, but is there anyone, John, what's your opinion as far as like how should you watch the first 6 movies?
You watch 4, 5, and 6.
And then
1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, 3. Okay. So the way they were released. Anybody have a different opinion?
Adam?
No, I think that's the right way.
I have a different.
I've been told. Side note: I've been told it's the right way.
Well, yeah. In fairness, I brainwashed you over the last 19 years.
And now I can't go any other way. That's just the right way. What it is in my head. So,
Matt, what's your order?
It's really dependent on the person. Unfortunately, that's what a lot of it comes down to. So, like in this day and age, if you haven't been exposed to Star Wars in any way, shape, or form, you're living under a rock. That's just my blunt opinion. But if you really don't know what's going on with Star Wars, if you have no base background, like if you legitimately have avoided the media in some way, shape, or form throughout most of your life, you have to watch 4 first. Mm-hmm. That establishes at least some of the universe, the storytelling. Like, because if you jump right into 1 without having any background in Star Wars at all, it's really difficult because they're doing a lot of hand waving on things that they assume that that there is this intergalactic, empire or republic or whatever you want to call it, that there are these magical sword waving magic power people who go around the universe, right? Without having zero ability or zero knowledge of Star Wars, you've got to start at 4. Now, if you have some level of knowledge, if just through, osmosis of the universe, because for better or for worse, if you're exposed to any kind of media through Disney, you should probably know what Star Wars is, because Disney is Star Wars and Disney owns everything. Like, legit, come on. Then you could start with 1. Especially for littler people.
It's interesting.
It's legit.
I've asked my high school students this over the course of however many years, and they actually say a lot of them have watched it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, not in release order. I have a different order personally, and I think it's because of the way I would, if I were to try to get somebody like fully indoctrinated into Star Wars, I'd want them to end on a high note, right? And so my method would be watch 1 and 2. I'm sorry, sorry. Take that back. Watch 4 and 5. And so you end at 5 and you're like, oh crap, that's his father. Spoiler alert, everyone. Sorry. Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. So you're like, oh my God, how did that happen? And then you go back and watch 1, 2, 3. You see him become bad. And then you get to end on a high note and hop forward to 6. Like, oh, now let's actually see like the good guys win. But I mean, theatrical release is the best way. There's another order that's called machete order. And they actually tell you to ignore 1, which is just nonsense. So they say watch 4, 5, 2, 3, 6, but ignore number 1, which is stupid.
No, that's ridiculous.
Lambert sent me a great Instagram video, and here is the actual fully comprehensive list in order.
I saw this, yeah.
Of how you should be, how you should not how you should watch it, but here is the order in which things
chronological
happen in this universe. Right? I'll just rattle off first or quick: Acolyte, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Clone Wars, Revenge of the Sith, Bad Batch, Solo, Obi-Wan, Rebels. And now we're kind of like past the Empire a little bit. We get into Andor, Rogue One, and then you get, I'm sorry, now we're about to get into the Empire. Then you get into the original trilogy, Mandalorian's only seasons 1 and 2, because then you got to watch the Bad Batch, and you got to watch Mandalorian season 3, and then into a bunch of new stuff, Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew, Star Wars Resistance, and then finally the sequel trilogy. Of all those things I just named, Adam, how many of those things have you seen, you think?
75% of them.
75% of them? Okay.
I haven't seen the Acolyte yet.
Yeah.
Because I've heard mixed things. Seen Skeleton Crew, Bad Batch, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, Mandalorian, obviously the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
I think
That's most.
I think the Acolyte's the only thing that you haven't seen.
There was maybe one other thing, but I can't recall what it was.
Because we're about to talk about, I think, one of the best and coolest lightsaber moments in the entire Star Wars saga, it's worth seeing Ahsoka, just because there is a badass lightsaber duel fight,
Oh, there is.
brawl,
Yeah,
whatever you want
yeah.
to call it.
There's a
Yeah.
pretty good one there.
That's one of the coolest scenes.
And a shout out to Clone Wars, actually, in the middle of it.
Yeah, obviously Clone Wars is incredible. I personally like Rebels better than Clone Wars, but maybe because it's shorter. It's
Wow,
close.
that's
it is
an
shorter.
opinion.
It is
right
shorter. I mean,
there.
Clone Wars is
I
like 9
it.
seasons long.
It's 1A, 1B. I'm not
Oh
saying.
no, no. I mean, we watched. Okay, so getting back a few years ago, COVID times, right? You're home with your kids. What in God's name do you do with them? Because you can't go anywhere and you can't do anything, but you have Disney. So what do? We watched all of Clone Wars. We watched all of Rebels. God, I don't even know what we watched. Every single MCU movie, right? Like in order, because we didn't have anything else to do, right? And the kids were super pumped. They really enjoyed watching all of Clone Wars, like legitimately all the way through. And it was really convenient timing because that's just about the time that they dropped that extra season. That last little season with tying up the Ahsoka arc and everything. And so they thought it was really, really cool because we got all the way through that. And it was really, really fun to do because I hadn't sat there and watched them all the way through. Like I had watched a lot of them, but never gone all the way through on purpose. And so this one we actually got to do on purpose. So yeah, legit, I do like Rebels a lot. I legit enjoy that show significantly. Me and my youngest watched... we watched like 4 episodes in a row the other day, just because we were bored and it was Saturday. And I'm like, what do you want to do? I don't know. Okay, let's watch some Star Wars. And it's like, you turn it on because it's fun to watch.
And there's also some really cool tie-ins with that, with Bad Batch, with Ahsoka, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see some new tie-ins with upcoming films and TV shows as well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some major actors and people that were in this film. So let's get to Liam Neeson. So I'm going to just ask this question. When I say Liam Neeson, what do you immediately think of? Jump in.
Taken.
Wow. With a certain set of
That is
skills.
fucking wild. I think that is a fair answer. I guess maybe I'm a movie person, so I think of
Schindler's List.
but-
I mean, no.
Also a good film.
Great film.
I've only seen that movie once. You know that.
I know, that's right. And we appreciate you watching it. So this dude's from Northern Ireland. He's actually like super well known in like the theater world, and then did a ton of TV shows. And then his big hit. Anybody guess what his big hit is in 1990?
Rob Roy.
Darkman.
Oh,
I was going to say, here's the hint. He has a mask on for half the movie.
I forgot. Darkman.
Darkman.
I do love that movie.
Great movie, right?
Oh my God.
Kind of his first foray into being a action
hero.
hero of some sorts. Schindler's List 93 again, big Academy Award, blah blah blah. Does Gangs of New York. He's a bit part. I think he was a big selling point. He was one of the major like names listed in the credits, but he gets acted pretty quick. Love Actually, one that Jan and I like a lot. And then also he's in Batman Begins. Kind of a big role in that. Taken. That's when he kind of flips the corner into an action star. He's averaged. How many things a year do you think he's averaged in his entire career? How many
Like movies
Roles?
roles? Movies, TV shows.
Oh my God.
Just guess.
Prolific.
Per year?
Like 3?
Including stage?
Six.
Yeah, I'd say 3 or 4. Yeah, lots.
Closer to 6. It's actually 7. He has averaged 7 things a year for his entire career. That's fucking crazy.
That's a lot
He's
of
a
work.
machine.
That's a lot of work.
And he was actually married to Natasha Richardson, if you guys don't remember that, but who sadly passed away in 2009. He does some pretty cool interviews on the aforementioned Blu-ray box set you should watch. He talks about like why he got involved with Star Wars. He pretty much was like, I need to get involved with this. This is the thing I've loved for my entire life. Glad we had him on board. Now, person who my wife has loved for her entire life, mostly, Ewan McGregor. I'm going to ask the same question. When I say Ewan McGregor, what do you think of immediately?
Train Spotting.
This.
I say this and Train Spotting. Yeah.
Yeah, Star Wars.
Yeah, I think Star Wars is probably, it's become Star Wars.
Is Janice's answer Moulin Rouge?
Jana's answer is 100%
Yeah.
He's from Scotland. His first roles were, besides Train Spotting, but he was also in a movie called The Shallow Grave that was also directed by Danny Boyle. This is stuff I know this off the top of my head. He's married to, anybody know?
I do not know.
No.
Speaking of Ahsoka, he's married to Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Oh,
Yeah, they have a child together. They actually just got married in 2022, so not a very long time. He had a previous marriage for, looks like, close to 25 years with 4 kids. 3 of his 5 children are current actors, believe it or not. And yeah, you guys already mentioned Trainspotting, Moulin Rouge. But I mean, what's really cool about Ewan McGregor is that you kind of see him grow up, and he's almost turned into like a modern day Alec Guinness.
Yep.
Right? I mean, I think he was trying to act like, what would it be like if I was Alec Guinness as a young man? And then eventually, by the time you get to the movie Obi-Wan, he is like fucking the old man hermit.
yeah.
He looks like
He's
him,
actually the same age as Alec Guinness was, and
which is crazy.
kind of weird because
Right.
he looks a lot younger.
They live life differently there, you know?
you know,
They didn't care about
there was-
red meat.
there was a
salt wasn't
war.
thing. No wars, famines. Right. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Current state of Star Wars. There have been a lot of recent releases since Disney Plus basically took over. A lot of cartoons or animated features, a couple movies. Like, I'm just really kind of curious, what is your current? This is where I want to get a little bit into like some things that have happened recently with Star Wars. What's your current like mindset as far as how Star Wars is doing, things they've released? Like, what's your overall, like, if you were to ask someone in '99, like, what's your barometer on Star Wars? Most people would say probably like 9, 10. Like, they're producing awesome stuff.
On a
John,
scale
you
out of 10.
start. Where are we at right now, you with Star Wars?
6,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, how come?
It's a mixed bag. Like you get things that are amazing, like Mando. Like that's the reason why I
Or
bought
Andor.
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 Andor
is
also,
the reason
great.
why I bought Disney Plus. Like that was coming out. It's like, well, I need a Disney Plus subscription now. Like
Yeah.
because you get things that come out that like Andor, and then you get some of the other some of the feature film releases have just been kind of, Some of the shows have been, Some of the shows have been fantastic. I think you gave Andor an 11 on this show.
I did.
Only
That's
11
fucking
ever
badass.
given- Andor season 1, I gave it a 10. You gave it an 11.
Yeah.
But then there's other things that's just, and it's a little bit like it could be, you could be starting to get it a little bit of the like it happened with Marvel, where you have Marvel fatigue. You had the MCU, but they were just hammering you with movie after movie after show after show, and you're just like, I can't do this anymore, and just the quality just starts going down because you're not taking your time. And maybe Star Wars is starting to see a little bit of that too, where it's one thing, like they're putting content out as fast as they can make it, and it shows.
Well, so Matt, do you feel that? I mean, I think you both are kind of in the same boat where you've got younger kids, and you're kind of maybe consuming a little bit of Star Wars media, similarly.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So do you feel like the same way? Like some of these things are hit or miss. Maybe you're not seeing everything as much as you needed to, or like right when it comes out, or.
Yeah, it's a lot of hit or miss. I'm going to give it, a little bit better than John. I'm going to say 7-ish. My big thing with it is that, there's been some questionable decisions in terms of content recently. And I think it comes down to maybe trying to do too much all at the same time. And you only have so many people who are working at these places who are truly passionate about making sure that Star Wars is Star Wars, right? There's only so much people to go around. You can't crank this stuff out.
There's only one Dave Filoni.
Right, exactly, right?
John
you got-
Favreau. Let's not forget about him. There's actually two of them.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
you
there's-
can't, the
there's-
two Fs.
There's the two guys.
There's two guys, right? And there's only so much that they can do. Like the most recent show is Skeleton Crew, right? And we've been watching that on a weekly basis. I've really enjoyed it for
I like
a
it a lot, too.
variety of reasons. And one of them is because it has nothing to do with anything else. Is there some nostalgia there a little bit too, right? Because I grew up in a certain time period. It's Goonies. It's The Explorers. We were talking about this the other day, me and Andrew were. It's this different type of adventure that doesn't have to deal with a bunch of other things that are going on in the Star Wars universe. It's a group of kids trying to get home, right? And that makes it more, and to me, that makes it more interesting. And I think it gave him a little bit more freedom to try some different things that are good. You're not beholden to, light versus dark. You're not beholden to this Jedi versus Sith stuff all the time. You've just got this group of kids who are on a spaceship and they're with kind of a shady dude and they're trying to get home, right? Yeah. And so that makes it more interesting to me. It's the same as like season 1 of Mando, right? Season 1 of Mando was great because it didn't have anything to do with anything else, Like now, did it kind of start to tail into some other things that maybe had to do with other things? Maybe.
Well, I mean, the Yoda character is obviously the major tie-in, but you're right. It's like it's a space adventure that exists in the universe that we don't have to necessarily worry about Skywalkers and Jedi the whole time or whatever it is.
And so to me, it's hit or miss. The same.
7's a good, decent score, Andrew.
Yeah, it's same as Matt, 7. I mean, I've said this on I think the podcast before. Like, I will always watch Star Wars. I will never not watch it. I will always have my hopes high that it's going to be a good movie, show, whatever. The last couple of years, the content has been okay, not awesome, but fine. And I think, Justin, you and I were talking the other day, and because I hadn't started the new series yet, Skeleton Crew, and you said something that kind of resonated. You were like, you know what? Just start with no expectations. Yeah. And actually, that's really good advice. It's still a good show. Like, I don't, I like it. I'm enjoying the show, but I think going in with not the highest, like, this is going to be a blockbuster, amazing, whatever thing, like the best Star Wars ever, it's not, but it's good. And but I think that's kind of across the board. Like, if you look at Star Wars movies or content as films, the dialogue sucks. The acting isn't great. Like, they're not very... the stories are sort of... We'll get to this, but like, even episode 1, the story that sort of moves the plot along is a trade dispute. Not super interesting.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, but I will never not be a Star Wars fan.
Well, you can have these fun stories that exist in the Star Wars world. It doesn't have to necessarily push this giant narrative forward.
Exactly.
It's just like, what's going on over here on this planet? Okay, there's some
a big
crazy
galaxy
shit going on. Right, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to save my opinion to go last, but Adam, I'm curious, where are you at? What's your barometer on Star Wars?
I'm of the same mind. It's like a 7 or an 8. It's still Star Wars, but I think it's different for me because I don't have this pedestal of really having Star Wars showing up when I was growing up. Like, my dad saw the original, like, 4, 5, and 6 in theaters, or close enough.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I did.
Yeah, like,
not. I don't remember seeing 4, but your grandparents took me to see episode 4 at a drive-in when I was like a year and a half old.
Yeah. So I mean, and like, you had that, and then you had the new trilogy, episodes 1 through 3, and you had all of the hype around it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you had the same kind of deal with 7, 8, and 9, but it was, I think the expectations were a little less because people were okay with the story ending 1 through 6, and that was Star Wars. And then they added on top of it, and they've been kind of 50-50.
Yeah,
as you could pick and choose. It's been about 50-50 since episode 7.
All right, I get to go on my tangent now that John's heard many times. Not my tangent, my tirade. My temper tantrum.
Soapbox.
I mean, frankly, Last Jedi just broke Star Wars. And I think we can all, if you can't agree with that, then whether you agree that it should have or not.
We know one person that doesn't agree with that.
It 100% did. I think that while I appreciate Rian Johnson, and to your point, Andrew, about like sometimes a movie doesn't have a super huge in-depth plot. Like, that's literally a 2.5 hour chase scene, right? That's all the movie is. And then they're doing all the other things to like somehow leap into hyperspace. But while single-handedly ruining the character that is the most important pivotal character in Star Wars lore, which is Luke Skywalker. So I think that's the big problem with what happened with Star Wars, is that they fucked over Luke Skywalker so poorly that they've been trying to play makeup since then, right? I mean, that's what Mandalorian season 2 does. That's what Andor is trying to do. That's why whenever we throw back, even like Visions, which is I think is a really cool show. Have you guys anybody seen?
Oh, it's
Visions?
super.
Yeah,
those
absolutely.
are super fun.
Love
Yeah,
it.
it's great, but it's all about like nostalgia. Like, let's go back to these old characters. Most of them, right? The best episodes, the bangers, are like there's a flashback with Qui-Gon, and he's the apprentice, and what's his name? Count Dooku is his master, right? And it's like, oh, this is freaking cool. But they're all trying to like get us to get back into this Star Wars like universe, but I think that they really screwed themselves over by just making Luke Skywalker look like a fucking whiny bitch, which I know that's how he started, but he became a much bigger character than that. I think
Going to
that
Tashi Station.
this isn't an episode.
Gotta go to Tashi Station.
This isn't an episode about Last Jedi, but I do think that like what we're seeing right now in the last 10 years is because I think they realized they really botched it big time, and they made a thing that was not divisive in any way. Like, just make Luke Skywalker be a badass. Like, why do you have to have him like basically turn into this cranky hermit that's going to kill his nephew in his sleep because he seems kind of shady, right? And then
The same guy who saved his dad.
because
he was
saw the most evil
absolutely
person
evil person in the galaxy besides the Emperor.
but his nephew seems like he's kind of a dick, so I'm just going to chop him in half while he's sleeping. Like, it
Yeah.
just seems like a departure from this character. And as a result, I think we've gotten some. What's happening now with the Star Wars lore, I think, is that you've got a lot of different creators. They're finally getting a single vision with Filoni and Favreau. But there was about 10 years there where it was like, let's try this out, let's try that out. And it's like, it'd be like doing Marvel, but without Kevin Feige. Like, look at the Sony universe, like those kind of things. Even DC, where you've got no captain at the head saying, we're all working towards this final goal. There's just a whole bunch of random ass shit, and some work, some don't, right? Bad Batch, first season is great. Last couple seasons, kind of jumps the shark a little bit. Andor, amazing. Mandalorian, amazing, except for season 3. And that's when they try and get too fancy with season 3, bring in a lot of stuff from Clone Wars and things like that. Book of Boba Fett. Half of it is an original story about Boba Fett somehow surviving the Sarlacc pit. The other half is basically Mandalorian season 2.5. Like, it all becomes Mandalorian again.
Yeah.
So they're just all kind of, I mean, Acolyte was cool until it just wasn't. Like, it would just seem just super, I don't know. It seemed like every episode was directed and written by like brand new people. like there's no continuity. Anyway, so I think that
Just on that point,
Yeah.
sorry, I saw a quote once, or I don't know if it was a quote, but it was about the Acolyte, and Kathleen Kennedy's note to the creator was, "This is a really great Star Wars show, but make it your own now." And I'm like, okay, so you could have stopped at "This is a really great Star Wars show" and just made a really fucking great Star Wars show. You don't have to make it your own. You don't have to turn it into something that it doesn't have to be. Just make a good show. That's what The Mandalorian was. It was a good show. It was a Western, right? It didn't have to, it was just a good show. Make a really good show. Make a really good movie. If it's set in the Star Wars universe, then fantastic. But focus on good shit.
Well, so here's the future slate of things that now, don't take this with a grain of salt, because Disney and Star Wars love to say we're doing these things, and a month later, a year later, say, oh, we actually scrapped that. Never mention that again. Simon Kinberg's supposed to be doing a Star Wars trilogy that is titled episodes 10 through 12. So we'll see if that even happens.
Oh, the Ray.
I
yeah,
don't.
yeah.
No, that's
we'll
that's actually a whole different thing. There's actually a whole new Rey movie.
Yeah.
That has to
they're
do
different.
with. They're two different trilogies. This one deals with rebuilding the Jedi Order. There's also that now. What is definitely coming out? Mandalorian Grogu that comes out in May of 2026.
Right.
There's supposed to be James Mangold's Star Wars movie, which is supposed to come out like thousands of years in the past, which focuses on the first Jedi. Filoni supposed to be coming out with a Star Wars movie at some point. Taiki Waititi is supposed to be coming out with a Star Wars movie at some point. Sean Levy, the guy who did Free Guy and a couple other things, apparently he's got a Star Wars movie in production. Lando is still currently being produced with Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian, which we liked him. I think
He was
liked
really
him
good.
in Solo.
Yeah, I liked him.
Yeah.
He was great.
He was good.
Perfect.
Somehow Ryan Johnson still has the Star Wars trilogy on the books.
Get the fuck
That's
out
never
of
gonna
here.
happen.
Never gonna
That'll
happen.
never
Well, it's like, yeah, I mean, there's all these weird ones that you've heard about, but like the Taika one, right? Like,
I don't think that's
like,
don't
like
think
if
so
you
either.
if
I don't
you
think
if
that's
you
gonna happen.
if you
No.
listen to him talk every once in a while, somebody will ask him about every once in a while, and he just kind of like does the side eye, right? You're like, no,
But apparently it's
not
already
gonna happen.
Apparently it's already written.
But yeah, okay.
Yeah, but how many scripts are written that don't ever actually turn into films?
Yeah.
I'll knock out
You
some
know.
Star Wars scripts this weekend.
There you go.
Right, exactly. You know, me and ChatGPT
The di-
are
the-
crank
the
some stuff
dialogue.
out.
Tonight.
Yeah,
Dialogue couldn't be any worse than Lucas could write.
Well, we're
write it in the style of George Lucas.
we are almost there.
Make it as awkward as you can.
Star Wars Rogue Squadron is also coming out. That's actually a show or a movie that's supposed to be like it just recently got.
That's been on again, off
updated.
again for like a decade, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Since they first talked about that during Mando season 1.
Yeah.
Was that Rogue Squadron, and then they killed it, and now they seemingly have brought it back from the dead, and I'm kind of like, all right, we'll.
I mean, I'd love to see it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
it could be
Top,
cool.
Top Gun with Star Wars, sure.
Yeah.
Let's
I mean,
do
it could be cool.
Sounds great.
You know, I mean, because what Rogues, okay, so like legit, if you look at all of the stuff that's
here we go.
been axed, right? All the stuff that no longer exists, right? All the EU stuff before Disney took over, there's 100 stories about Rogue Squadron doing all kinds of crazy stuff. They get in all kinds of weird adventures with Wedge and everybody else, you know, and so
This is my
there's-
brother Matt, the biggest Star Wars nerd in the
yeah,
room.
so there's a ton of content that they can mine, and they do that. Like even legitimately, like right now, they mine out of the EU regularly. I mean, if you pay close enough attention, you'd be like, oh wait, that was this out of this comic from Marvel in 1996, and they just pulled it out of the woodwork, right? Or even
Admiral Thrawn.
the books, or
Admiral Thrawn was straight out of Timothy Zahn.
well,
Timothy
yeah,
Zahn's
Thrawn
book.
is.
So like that
yeah,
was like
I mean,
that's
Thrawn
like
is the most famous
biggest
example.
one,
but even
still.
right now in Skeleton Crew,
Yeah.
right with what's Jude Law's character, whatever his name is, because
Redbeard
he's
or
got
whatever.
about 10 of them at this point in time. If you've been watching the show, a couple of his names are pulled out of the comics. Like
Yeah.
legit, they're pulled directly out of the comics, and it's some pirate captain from some one-off comic book where he got involved with Han Solo in a shootout or something, and then that's it. Right? He never
Well,
shows
if it's
up
in
again.
if it's in the Wikipedia, then
Yeah.
it's real.
But so you know, for Favreau and especially for Filoni, right? He has encyclopedic knowledge of Star Wars, and so he'll be like, "Oh, that was really cool when I read that 20 years ago. Maybe we can do that." And he goes and finds it because they do have a couple. I mean, at Lucas, they do have a couple of those lore master guys. If you've ever heard any interviews with them, they're hilarious. But they try to keep track of all the lore and make sure everything stacks correctly, because that was the biggest problem in the 90s and the 2000s, was the fact that the EU was a mess. I mean, legit.
Just
a
really quickly,
mess.
EU, for those of you who aren't deep into
sorry.
Star Wars, EU is the extended universe. That was all the books and comic books and games and all that shit that existed before Disney
of us
bought
have read.
Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
Except
I
for
read a
Matt,
couple of
and
those
I've read
books.
some of them. But then when Disney bought Lucasfilm, they basically relegated all of that to Star Wars Legends. So it's all Star Wars content that's out there, but none of it is canon, quote unquote, as of the Disney purchase of Lucasfilm.
So the last thing that is going to be part of canon coming out is Andor season 2. I think
Excited.
we can all agree we're pretty excited about that. All right, now we're here. Now we're going to actually talk
Talk
about
about
the
episode
movie.
1 now?
Wait, what are we talking about again?
Not just Star
45
Wars.
minutes
We're talking about the Phantom Menace. So into our deep dive summary. IMDb says 2 Jedi escape a hostile blockade to find allies and come across a young boy who may bring balance to the Force, but the long dormant Sith resurface to claim their original glory. We think that's pretty accurate. It's pretty accurate. Titles,
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
according to according to Lucas, this title is basically about Palpatine and the rise of the Sith. Like that's the Phantom Menace is
Phantom Menace is Palpatine.
is
Yeah, I
Palpatine.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Just in case you've never figured that out, we're here to teach. This debuted May 19th, 1999, has a runtime of 2 hours and 16 minutes. Budgeted, estimated 115 million, and it grossed over $1 billion worldwide. Opening weekend itself made back almost half its money, just under $65 million. I mean, this is back when people,
Just in the U.S. and Canada.
just in US and Canada, this is back when people went to see movies in theaters.
When you waited in line for tickets to go see said movie.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
And then you waited in line to go sit
To
and
actually
get, a seat
get into it
'cause
because
Right.
you didn't have assigned seats.
reserved seats did not exist.
Yep.
Here are a couple quick awards. 2000 Oscar nominee for Best Sound. 2000 Oscar nominee for Best Effects and Sound Editing. It was also a 2000 nominee for Oscar for Best Effects, Visual Effects. these are the kind of awards that Star Wars used to be nominated for back in the day. And even in 7, 8, 9, I'm pretty sure they got a couple Oscar nods for things like this. BS rankings. Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 52% overall with an audience score of 59%. Matt, is this surprising?
No, it's not surprising at all. There's a bunch of people who hate this movie.
The Jar Jar factor.
Oh God, yes.
That's why they call it BS
There's
rankings.
legit a bunch of people who despise this movie. I have a group of friends who I can get them going if we start talking about episode 1.
Good. Well, I'll send you a link to this episode when it drops, and you can send it to them immediately. IMDb gives it a 6.5. This is one of the rare moments where IMDb actually has a higher score than Rotten Tomatoes.
Usually it's lower.
All the fanboys are on IMDb. Like if they want to tank anything, they just go on there and just nerd it out for a while. They're nerd hate. Spielberg Award for directing and writing both go to George Lucas. Let's start having some conversations. So the Tom Hanks Award for Best Leading Role, I kind of only have 2. I don't know if anybody wants to argue there should be more, but I think we've got Liam Neeson who plays Qui-Gon and Ewan McGregor plays Obi-Wan. I will not accept Jar Jar as a nominee. Does anyone want to nominate anyone else? Or if not, then Andrew... Oh, go ahead, please.
Those are really the only leading roles in the entire movie.
Well, Matt, who's your favorite? You get to pick your one.
Out of those two?
Out of those two.
I like McGregor.
Okay. John?
Give me Neeson.
Okay. Andrew?
I really like Ewan McGregor.
Adam?
Also like Ewan McGregor.
Wow.
You don't have to agree with me the whole time.
I know.
All right, just making sure.
Well, Ewan McGregor is going to win, but I actually was going to agree with you, John. I think Liam Neeson is the best leading role. But according to numbers, we lose. Ewan McGregor. Congratulations.
Losers.
Harder conversations here. The other 4 Jacksons. So who are our best secondary characters? Natalie Portman plays Queen Amidala, also plays Padme. Jake Lloyd plays Anakin Skywalker, who unfortunately has had some... child actors don't always have it the best, so let's just leave it at that. Ian McDermott he reprises his role as Senator Palpatine. What?
It's so funny. Anyway.
Who, Palpatine?
Yeah, I love that.
Oh, yeah. Ahmed Best plays Jar Jar Binks. Anthony Daniels plays C-3PO, voices that. Kenny Baker. These are all from the original
Back as R2.
trilogies, too. That's
Absolutely.
pretty cool. Kenny Baker, R2-D2. Frank Oz voices Yoda. Ray Park bursts onto the screen as Darth Maul. And Samuel L. Jackson, with his purple lightsaber, becomes Mace Windu. We don't see the purple lightsaber.
No
Not in this
purple
one.
lightsaber in this one.
Next one.
He does get to sit and lounge. He does have that one scene in the
Jedi Council.
Jedi Council where he's like lounging in that chair, and it's hilarious.
You think this boy is the chosen one?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay, let's go the other way around this time. Andrew, who is your... I can't keep all you fucking Lamberts separate. Andrew, who's your favorite secondary character?
I like Ray Park. He took it away. He was
so fucking good,
Darth
right?
Maul was such a badass. Even though, didn't you just tell me, Matt, that he actually didn't do any of the Darth Maul voice?
He did not. He was redubbed after the movie.
That's a bunch of bullshit. But Ray Park killed it as Darth Maul.
I mean, he's got a good voice. Doesn't he play, what's his name, Toad in X-Men?
He does.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
And that was, what was that? That was what, the year after?
That was 2000.
This?
2000.
Yeah.
2000, yeah.
Yeah.
If we're talking peak of the mountain for Ray Park, I'm pretty
It's
sure
this.
this is
Oh,
it.
Probably this.
100%.
Yeah.
It's
It's
year 2000.
99,
Yeah.
2000.
I tried to last year. He was coming to Columbus to one of the comic shops that I go to, and we signed up to get autographs with him. So, but he ended up canceling at the last minute because of some health stuff. Got the flu, or I don't know what it was. But yeah, it was unfortunate. But I even had I got a special metal plate with a printed red Darth Maul on it. So it was like a metal photograph to have him sign and everything. I was super pumped. And then he didn't show up and I was kind of bummed. But I was like, you know what? It happens. You go to any Comic-Con, you go to any event like that, there's always cancellations because of X, Y, and Z. It's fine, but we were excited to go. I was going to take the boys and everything.
He's done way too many double backflips out of his bed in the morning now to he's probably injured a few times.
Those robot
Is
legs.
this your pick also, Matt, for best secondary character?
No,
who do you-
McDermott. I love Palpatine in this one. He's just hanging out. And okay, so we rewatched the movie twice in the past 2 days. Once you and me watched it, and then we watched it with Adam yesterday. And I I legitimately enjoy watching it now, having consumed all of the other Star Wars now, because I sit there and I just laugh maniacally. I go, oh no. He goes, oh no, don't go back to Naboo. That would be bad. And then he goes,
terrible.
ha, 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 ha. You know, and it's like,
You'll be put in danger.
oh no, heavens to Murgatroyd. You know, it's legitimately fun to watch because you sit there and you're like, I know what happens later in the story now. And I think it's fun to watch him in every scene that he's in because he's an exceptional actor. And B, it's just a lot of fun to sit there and watch him just like push the buttons in the background, right?
Yeah.
You know,
As a menace. Lambert, John,
A Phantom.
who's your pick?
Give me Samuel.
Oh man, dark horse. I can't believe you picked Samuel L. Jackson. That's good.
Love it.
All right,
Give me
Adam.
Samuel.
Ahmed Best is Jar Jar Binks.
There you go.
Can I just say
Well done.
I am so glad that he got to make he got to be another character in the Star Wars universe when he came back in what was it Mandalorian, right?
Mandalorian. Oh yeah, he saved.
Well, the guy who saves Grogu.
yeah. So, but before that, he was in was it Young Jedi Adventures? It was a YouTube thing where he plays that character, that same character, that Kelleran Beck character.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, no, it was really cool. Like, because he kind of came back for that, and then the Mando guys called him. They're like, "Do you want to do more?" And he was like, "Well, duh,
Yeah.
yes, I do."
He definitely should get some recognition because he definitely got the brunt of the negative feedback.
through no
for
fault
this
of his
movie.
own. I mean,
I think he did exactly what Lucas
did-
told him to.
he
do.
played
and,
the character.
and he did it so well that it was terrible.
he played the character.
All right, well, I'll break the tie. I am going to go because I know how good Senator Palpatine can be later on. I'm not going to pick him because his best work is in Episode 3.
Well, yes,
let's be
yeah,
honest.
okay.
That's the peak
Yeah.
for him. So I am going to also pick Ray Park. It's hard not to pick Ray Park. Yeah. He's just fucking amazing.
Right.
I mean, all right, you know what? No, we'll talk about Duel of the Fates later on. Backup singers. I only had 4 nominees here, and you could probably put a couple of the characters from the previous section into this area, but these are like people who you're like, oh shit, they're in this movie. Terrence Stamp plays Chancellor Valorum. Terrence Stamp, if you don't know who Terrence Stamp is, like he's obviously a incredibly well-known actor, probably best known for Superman 2, I would think,
Zod.
as Zod.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
fair?
I think
Sounds
that's
right.
probably fair.
You might know him from a few other things, but maybe the voice of Jor-El in Smallville. Maybe that's how you know him. Maybe not. Dominic West also plays the Palace Guard. You guys know who Dominic West is?
Yes.
Known from The Wire, obviously. Sofia Coppola plays Sashay. Keira Knightley plays Sabe. So those are all like Queen impersonators.
I added one.
Go.
Warwick Davis.
Warwick Davis. I was going to call that one out.
right.
He's at the pod
He's
racing.
in
He's in the pod
at the pod
racing.
racing.
Yeah, he's standing next to
Jabba.
Watto.
That.
Watto.
Oh,
He's next to
Watto.
Watto.
Next to Watto.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to call out Warwick
He is.
Davis.
He's got a lot of good facial acting right there. We can't.
he
I mean, we don't know what he's saying, but he is obviously upset that.
He's
Anakin won.
He's laughing and then he's upset. Yeah.
I'll start. I'm going with Terrence Stamp. Let's jump around, John.
Dominic West, just because of The Wire.
You're like, fuck, that's Dominic West. Good things to come. Matt?
Terrence Stamp did an okay job. I'm going to go with that.
Adam?
Same here.
Yeah, I think Terrence Stamp as like the patsy for Palpatine was perfect.
Yeah, 100%.
Terrence Stamp wins it. John Williams category for music. Again, another movie that's named after the person who does the music for this. The original album. This is, I think, pretty crazy. The original album was released on compact disc to accompany the film, May 4th, 1999. It's a single disc containing 17 tracks from the score. Each track is edited by Williams, and the idea is that this would be it's like a concert. And it's really kind of fun to think of it like that because now what they do is they will show movies and you can actually watch the score along with it.
do it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll bring in the like local symphony.
Yeah.
I went and saw one of the episodes of Game of Thrones where they brought in the guy who composes. For Game of
that's
Thrones.
cool.
Oh, that's
It
neat.
was super cool. It was in Enterprise Center.
Okay.
This album reached number 3 on the U.S. Billboard Top 200. It's a fucking instrumental album. Like, I mean, that's insane,
Well,
right?
it's not just an instrumental album. It's a classical album.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, let's talk about Duel of the Fates. I mean, I used to play that in my. I know Lambert was you were John. You were definitely in my car, cruising around in the green Jeep in high school, going to parties, playing Duel of the Fates on a Friday night. Obviously, we weren't drinking, Adam. We were just hanging out, being responsible young adults.
Absolutely.
But blasting Duel of Fates, driving down
The summer
fucking Clayton
between
Road.
senior year and freshman year at Mizzou.
That's a banger.
Yeah.
I mean, right? Is there a better moment in the movie? I don't want to step on scenes nerd on because it's about to be next, but is there a more just absolutely like just a needle drop moment than when that door opens and they just drop dun 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 at the beginning of Duel of Fates? It's got to be the best moment in the film, right? Or at least music wise that it's accompanied with.
Musically, yeah. it's probably the best
Musically,
one.
yeah. I mean, I would argue this is some of Williams' best work.
Yeah.
Was what he pulled out for this one. I think he was at near to his peak right at this point in time. Because I mean, he had done a lot of other things. I mean,
He had
just
16 years to think about this.
yeah, just look at the films that he's scored. I mean, Jesus, it's every major movie you've ever thought of, right? I mean, he's done all of them, and I think it really at this point in time, he had done so many movies, and he had sat and thought about this for so long. He was at his peak when
I mean, how
this
do you
came out.
differentiate like Superman, Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones,
Jaws.
Star Wars, Jaws, right? I mean, that's just ones off the top. I mean, there are 1 million of them. How do you make something truly unique for every single IP, right?
Yeah.
Or even just movie, period.
You had some opera.
Right.
I watched a documentary about his career not too long ago with Ginger, and like his filmography is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
His music history is ridiculous. He started out as a jazz pianist. He was Johnny Williams in the 50s. Right? Like 'cause
That
he was
sounds more like a jazz guy.
he was
Yeah,
a fucking
yeah.
jazz pianist, and then he gets into commercials, and then TV, and then films, and now like he is synonymous with ridiculous film scores. But I agree with Matt. I think this song, this moment, this scene in the film is just like it's awesome.
Curious, how many Oscars do you think he's won?
All of them.
Probably not as many as you think.
Well,
Two?
he's won 5 Oscars.
5.
He's been nominated for 390 different awards across all award shows. He's won 216 awards in his lifetime. He has done 321 things in his career. That's a lot. And obviously that's like doing like a sequel to a Star Wars or a sequel to a Jurassic Park or a short for whatever. But that's still a ton of things.
That outpaces Neeson.
Sure does.
Things per
I
year.
don't know. I don't know. He's been around for a little bit longer.
John
than
Williams
Neeson.
is older though, so
But I do think the music is pretty amazing. I watched part of this movie with the. You can watch another thing about the Blu-rays. You can watch the director commentary and the editing commentary, like as you're watching the film. And frankly, it might be better if you don't listen to the dialogue in a lot of this movie and just enjoy the music and have people talking over the top of it. So that's a testament to the music, though. Scenes to nerd out on. I'm just gonna rattle off some. I have 23 scenes. Is that too many?
Is that the whole movie?
How many
The whole
scenes
movie.
are
You're
in
just
the
going to
film?
talk us through the film.
I'm not going to do the whole movie. I'm gonna drop some of these because some of these are not necessarily the best scene. They're just when pivotal things happen. All right, the whole intro. Jedi introduced. They fight the battle droids. Like negotiations break down. I'm gonna have that as one scene, and I'm just gonna say the next scene is like Jar Jar and Gungans. The whole underwater thing. Does that work?
Yeah.
sure.
I think a second scene, an addendum to that, is probably like the escaping the core. That's kind of its own
Going
thing.
through the planet core. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a separate scene.
Through the planet core.
We could talk about like they arrive on Tatooine and like speaking Huttonese and Anakin and all that, but I think really just the race. Let's just put
Pod race.
Pod race.
Pod race.
The whole thing?
I'm just gonna put the whole race.
Okay.
I mean, you got like the wager. You've got first of all my favorite.
You've got some like him figuring out that like Anakin is a virgin. So that's kind of a big thing.
True. It's not the best scene.
No, it's not the best.
They
scene,
introduce you to
but
these
it's kind of important.
Fun midichlorians. Whatever the hell that is.
The midichlorians.
I think the best part of the
Wrote that
race,
down.
the best part of the race, by the way, is the race itself is funny, but the Tusken Raiders trying to pick off
Yes.
that's
By
fucking amazing.
By far.
I was like, yeah,
That's the best part of the race.
that was a good addition. The first Darth Maul attack as they're getting off the planet.
Yep.
Yeah.
All the next part is kind of like the Jedi Council, Coruscant, the Senate, testing Anakin, all that gobbledygook.
You know, I think though that like the first time you see the Senate,
Yeah.
with like all of the little floaty pods and the different aliens and all that kind of shit, like you realize how gigantic the galaxy is and how many different.
You got
flavors of
Wookiees
life
in there.
forms.
You
Yeah,
got
exactly.
ETs in there. You got, I mean,
Yeah,
lots
Super
of
cool.
different creatures.
I think so. For that scene, I think one of the more interesting parts that you kind of get peppered in when you start watching the movie is going to Coruscant for the first time.
Yeah.
You realize that this is literally a planet that is a city. There is no green space, right? I mean, it's a city end to end and it never stops.
Yeah.
And there's a million flying cars in the sky and high rises and everything else. And then you're right. And then you get to the Senate and you realize that the Senate building is gigantic and there's literally thousands of senators.
Well, because in the past, we've basically lived either on a sand planet or on a ship.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I guess there's
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
obviously got like where you got the
Hoth
and the Ewoks.
but there's nobody there.
Nobody lived in
Nobody's
Dagobah,
at
nobody
the
lived on
ones-
Hoth.
Yeah, no one's
You know,
there.
even
Nobody wanted to
Endor
live
was you know, it was just the Ewoks.
Right.
This is hard to break up because they're kind of doing like a 3-part scene at the same time, which is like the retaking of the palace by Amidala, the duel of the fates, Darth Maul versus Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, and then also like the whole Gungan thing, like the fight on the land. So those are all kind of going simultaneously, which kind of cool when I first saw it, but I really just want them to like do one at a time and then like show me the entire lightsaber fight. Like I just want to see them duke it out.
Stop breaking from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really don't want them to break from that the whole time. Like every time I'm
Show me
like,
that.
ugh.
You know
Jar
what,
Jar's
though?
going to throw a
Like-
ball and accidentally take down a ship. Cool. What's Darth Maul fucking doing right now? Like, that's what I want to know.
I
Well,
think
don't-
though, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, well, don't forget there's another part that's interspersed throughout all of those scenes.
Oh, Anakin up.
Anakin flying through the sky,
Flying,
right?
yeah,
and
yeah.
so you have these 4 parallel tracks occurring literally at the same time. I'm of the opinion that I think they actually did an okay job with it because there really was a 4-prong going on at the same time. And okay, yeah, maybe there's some suspect things going on there. Maybe the editing wasn't 100% the best, but I generally think that they did an okay job trying to tie those 4 things together at least to kind of keep you up to date with what all these characters were doing. all
I
at the
joke.
same
I think it's
time.
actually really good, too. I'm just so infatuated
probably
with Darth
the-
Maul.
Yeah, it's probably the best editing that they did in the movie because
Yeah.
there's some other. Yeah, anyway.
I think though, like from a film perspective, the fact that he had them all staggered and he hit the low point of each thing all at the same time. Like from a storytelling standpoint, it was really good because like, oh shit, Amidala's captured. Oh crap, Anakin's starship just died. Oh, Qui-Gon's dead, and then
shield broke.
and the shield broke for the Gungans. Or like they're all 4 of them all fucked all at the same time, right? And then like the sort of redemption arc, like how they get out of it, was all also all happening at the same time. I thought that was really well done.
It starts going good for the good guys as the most monotone speaker ever says, Viceroy, what does she say? Viceroy, your occupation of this planet has ended. Like the queen.
Yes.
And then shoots somebody and they all somehow escape.
The fake queen.
So bad. But also, way to go, good guys. Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul, again, kind of all part of that part, but those two actually duking it out. Then it kind of wraps up with a funeral. It's obviously paying homage to the Darth Vader, like funeral pyre.
Episode 6, yeah.
And then the celebration. As all Star Wars
all
movies
Star-
have to end in
ends with
some
a
type
party.
of party/musical, whatever.
Some kind of award celebration / party, yeah.
Right. Okay. Adam, you haven't spoken in a while. What's your favorite scene?
The pod race.
Okay.
From day one. I loved.
I think we would skip to the pod racing and just watch that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
That was it.
It is pretty intense too. Like it's a nonstop action. Like they're not skipping to anything else except for like looking at
My kids
Obi-Wan's facial reactions. Yeah, it's kind of good
They
for all
really
ages,
enjoyed
right?
it,
Yeah.
All right. Matt, what's yours?
If I'm taking this movie as a whole, I legitimately like the pod race just because it does just keep going. and it is a singular focus for the whole time. It's what, 8 or 9 minutes long. I mean, it just keeps going, but it is kind of fun. Now, there's a couple of times where you're like, oh man, really? Again, the ship dies a second time? You're like, come on. You know, how many times can this ship die, really? But I think
it was, in fairness, it was built by a 10-year-old. So,
I know, right?
You know.
True.
So I think the pod race is probably one of the strongest scenes just because they had the singular focus and it was fun. Yeah.
Andrew?
Wow, I was expecting you to go next, John.
That's fine.
Like to change it up a little bit.
I know, you threw me off. I
Keep you
think
all on your toes.
I think taken as its own scene, the lightsaber duel between Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul, because that was really the first. I mean, you saw sort of hints of like full Jedi stuff when they were fighting the battle droids, but what? Matt's laughing. You can't watch him laugh because he's watching
Force speed.
silently. Force speed. Well, right, but which. As an aside, the only time you ever see force speed in any of the films at all was during the battle droid scene at the very beginning of the movie. But having said that, seeing like full Jedi and Jedi Knights fighting against a Sith,
Prime
like
Jedi.
yeah, like in their prime, not busted Obi-Wan and busted Vader or Luke who didn't know what the fuck he was doing with the lightsaber. Like these guys who genuinely had trained and knew what they were doing as Jedi. That was amazing.
Have you seen it's like a really quick YouTube short, but it's like, what would it actually look like
Yes.
if Darth Vader was fighting
Oh my
Obi-Wan?
god! Yeah, I would. I think I texted. I sent the scene
I've
to
seen
both of
it.
these
I've seen
guys,
it. Yeah.
and I said I would let them remake the film again if they did it this way.
Put that in there.
Yeah, just
put that
just
in there.
slide this in, fully CGI. I don't even care. It would be awesome.
What's yours, John?
It's the duel.
Okay. I'll just break the tie. Duel.
No, but I will
Second
say,
one is pod racing. It's
but
either
I,
one.
pod racing. But one of the things I do want to say is putting myself back in 1999. The opening crawl, like Star Wars flashing up on the screen, and the opening crawl, and you could like feel the electricity in the theater. I'm getting chills now as I talk about it. Like you could feel the electricity and the anticipation in the theater when it was happening. Like there was nothing like that.
Right.
I mean, people like were cheering when Star Wars came on the screen. Like nothing had even happened yet. Star Wars flashes on the screen and people cheer.
Yeah, the crawl starts and
Yeah.
everybody's like, woo!
Yeah, it was amazing.
You know, yeah, I mean, that's legitimately what happened.
It was just there, and there won't be another Star Wars like that.
I think I mean, we can hop ahead to the next category, Dante's Peak, which is like, is this the peak for the actual crawl? And I think the answer is yes. I think that you had so much anticipation and build up from 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
You've got all the original fan base, all their kids, us, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like we are jazzed to see this for the first time in a theater for the most part. And like, I agree. When we saw it, I can remember like getting chills. Even when I just watched it recently on my TV and we turn all the lights off and kind of have like a home viewing experience. Like when that pops in, I was like, like to be in that moment again as a young man, like experiencing Star Wars for the first time, just that logo. You're like, fuck, that's so badass. Then Jana made me read her what the actual crawl said. I don't know why.
She made you read.
I don't know why.
Did you do it in a Yoda voice?
I did not. I did in the Samuel.
Wookiee voice?
I did it in the Samuel Jackson.
Sand person.
I did in Wookieese. Yes. The Heath Ledger Award for scene stealing. I have 2 nominees. I have McGregor and Samuel Jackson. Any other nominees?
Ray Park.
Ray Park. Great.
Ah, fuck that. R2 always.
C-3PO pops in there too.
Yeah.
A naked
Yeah.
C-3PO.
A naked
Good old
C-3PO.
naked
Naked
C-3PO.
3PO.
Yeah.
Naked 3PO.
I can see your circuits.
I think Ray Park
Jar Jar?
actually has.
I'm just kidding.
That's Adam's vote.
Yep.
no,
Written
really.
in.
What's your scene stealing vote? I don't know. You don't know?
No, I got nothing.
Well, who would you vote for?
Okay, so we have
Ewan,
we have
Samuel
Ewan,
Jackson,
Samuel,
R2,
Ray Park,
and Ray Park.
R2,
and Jar Jar.
and Jar Jar.
And Jar Jar? Okay, who you pick?
Probably R2. Every scene in every Star Wars movie.
Man.
We got 2 R2s here. I forgot how cool of an introduction he is. He's the only one that doesn't get shot off the top of the plane
Exactly.
of the ship.
Right.
I'm like, all right, R2B, he be being a badass. Like he's always a badass.
And in Clone Wars, always doing
He's just the best
shit
droid in the
anything.
world.
Yeah.
R2's awesome.
C3, I think most people think R2 is like C3PO's like sidekick. It's 100% the other way around.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
C3PO is like he's the comedic,
Right.
whatever. So
No, don't do that. Oh, I'm still going to do it.
I'm going to do it.
Oh, okay, here we go.
I'm going to save the day again. All right, you assholes, I'll open this door too for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Matt,
Scene steal? Oh man, that's a tough one. Ray Park pretty much steals anything that he's standing in because he's just menacing, right? He can just stand there and look at you. Oh no, I don't want to talk to that guy in a dark alley, do I? That's not what I want. Yeah, no, I think he probably qualifies. I think he's probably highest.
that was the moment where I was like, oh, this guy's a fucking badass. So I'm
Yeah.
going to say Ray Park too. But when I originally saw it, I was like, Samuel Jackson's in this movie? He's a fucking Jedi? Let's see where this goes. I'm interested. And he did not disappoint in episode 2 and 3. All right, into the actual category, Dante's Peak. So, first nominee I have are new Jedi powers and skills. It's really fun that you mentioned this. So I'm going to rattle off. I'm going to tell you the original skills that were already had already been introduced. So previously we had long jumps.
Mm-hmm.
They could move objects. They could mind control. They could apparently feel people and communicate without speaking.
Telepathy?
But
not
also but
telepathy?
you can also do like emotionally too. It's not just what you're thinking. It's also like I feel
You miss your mother.
I feel sadness, whatever it is, right?
right.
Don't get me started on that. I laughed my ass off about that one.
Saber fighting and then lightning bolt hands. Those are all things that have been
Lightning
established.
Lightning bolt. Oh, sorry.
So here are the new powers we learned in this movie: force speed, which was very shocking. They can hold their breath for apparently very long periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
That's with the gas and stuff.
Yeah.
Not when they go underwater.
when they
That's
go
apparently
underwater.
too
They have
long.
rebreathers.
Yeah.
You can use I forgot this is the first time you see them using a lightsaber to open a door.
That
Like
was
not
pretty
just
cool.
fight. He's like, all right, I'll melt this fucker and just
Yeah.
shoves it in there. I was like, oh, that's fucking clever. This is the first time I realized that they are actually badass fighters. And then the double-sided lightsabers.
Force jump.
I think force jump had already been established.
Yeah, Luke did it in.
Luke does it in Empire.
Well, he did it in Empire.
does it
and
in
he did
Empire.
It in Jedi.
Yeah, and in Jedi, he does that
Yeah.
backflip up to the
exactly.
catwalk at one point. Yeah.
He jumps out of the freaking
In Empire, yeah.
out of the what's it called? Out of the
The carbonite.
carbonite
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
like because he just shoots out of it. And all of a sudden
Yeah.
he's up in the rafters. Like, how did he get up there? So, do we think that the previous skills we learned are better than or not as good as the new ones we just learned?
Well, the new one has a double-edged lightsaber, so I think the new one wins by just that. You could add anything. You could take away everything else.
Yeah.
That one would take the cake.
It's not just I can fight with lightsabers. It's here are the different versions, and also we are fucking badass at fighting with lightsabers.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, the double-bladed lightsaber was a mind trip, right? Like you had never seen anything like that before. I don't even think, as a kid, you played lightsabers, right? Did anyone ever duct tape two lightsabers together to wail on each other?
Ray Park did.
Well, obviously Ray Park did.
Yeah, you did.
I don't remember that happening as a kid. I don't remember even having that thought. And then as soon as episode 1 came out, it was, I'm duct taping two lightsabers together and I'm going to wail on you now, right? Like you'd never seen anything like that before. The other ones are interesting. The other force powers that kind of show up in the movie are interesting just because they had been established before the movie. Like if you read some of the books, you played the video games and stuff.
There was force speed in some of the
Yeah.
games and whatnot. Like there was some of that stuff.
Like some of that stuff was in there,
Yeah.
but you'd never seen it before. It was always, what do you see inside your head, right? Like what does it look like when a Jedi moves at 1,000,000 miles an hour? I have no idea what that would look like. But apparently it looks like a guy running really fast. I mean, it's half a second at the beginning of the movie, and then that's the only time you ever see it ever again in any movie.
Yeah.
or show.
I think the double edged lights and also them using that to open a door. Those two were, for me, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
badass skills. Okay. Peak for Liam Neeson. Again, he's done 190 things, 7 a year. I kind of rattled off some. Let me just kind of go in order. In 90, Darkman, these are all kind of the big ones. Schindler's List, he gets nominated for Best Actor in 93. He does Nell in 94.
That's right. I forgot about Nell.
I forgot about
I know you guys
that
all
one. I
love
did
Nell.
see that one.
Yeah, me too.
Jodie Foster.
The movie's the fucking
Yeah.
worst. The movie's so bad. Les Mis in 98, does this in 99. Gangs of New York in 02. Love Actually in 03. Kinsey in 04. Batman Begins in 05. He voices Aslan in Chronicles of Narnia in 05. Taken in 08. This is his action movie star time
Yeah.
now. Taken's in 08. A-Team is in 2010. The Grey is in 2011. Wrath of the Titans in 2012. And the rest of the movies are just like basically different ways to say I'm going to
Different versions
kick
of
your
Taken.
ass.
I'm killing you.
Taken 2, Taken 3, Taken 4, Taken on an airplane.
Taken on an ice truck.
Taken on the bus,
Yeah.
taken on
Yeah.
on a ship. So, what do we think his peak is?
So I'll go. I've got two because you've got. I think you can't not say Schindler's List. He won an Oscar. It's an amazing film. He played Oscar Schindler amazingly in the film. So I think you have to say that, or at least I do. And then I'm gonna say Taken because that was sort of when his career turned him into an action hero, which I think has been a ton of fun to watch. He's a genuinely good actor and also a good action hero. And a lot of people say, and so I'm going to say Taken as the other peak. A lot of people say that's his first action role, and I will disagree. I think this was his first action role.
I think Darkman's his first action.
Well, okay, fine. Give it Dark.
I get what you're saying though. Like,
but I think he wouldn't have gotten Taken if it weren't for this movie.
yeah. No, I think Taken's probably the right answer. I think this is actually pretty similar to the litigation we had with Keanu, where it was like, all right, so most people would say Keanu's peak is.
The Matrix.
Well, I think the answer should be The Matrix, or it should be somewhere in the mid to late 90s. But younger
Well, you
people
ask
might
people now, it
say
might be John Wick.
it's actually John Wick,
Wick.
right?
I had The Matrix.
Okay, all right, that's a good answer too.
I raised you properly.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily his peak, but it's
Point
like,
Break.
but it, yeah, I was gonna say that actually is more accurate. But so you've got this time where he's doing a lot of different award-winning things and sprinkling in some action and whatnot, Gangs of New York. But at the same time, then he really hits it big with a whole different genre, 15 years later. So he might have two peaks, frankly. Ewan McGregor, this is a really interesting conversation because he's done some pretty cool stuff. Trainspotting is 96. This is in 98 or 99. This is like super early in his career. Moulin Rouge, 2001. Black Hawk Down, also in 2001. Attack of the Clones, obviously 2002. He does a movie called Down with Love. You guys remember that?
Yes.
I really like that movie a lot. Renee Zellweger.
Yes.
That's in 03. Big Fish is also in 03.
I love that movie.
Me too. Robots, he voices in 2005. Revenge of the Sith is also in 2005. Then he comes back, and now he's doing kind of a lot of IP stuff. He does Angels and Demons in 09. He does Trainspotting 2 in 17. There's a big gap there. He's in a bunch of other random things. These are kind of the big ones. Beauty,
Some documentaries in there too.
sure. Beauty and the Beast. He voices Lumiere, I believe, in 2017. He does the Fargo TV show in 2017. And then he even does Doctor Sleep, which is the sequel to... why am I blanking? And what's the sequel to? Stephen King, Shining.
Shining.
The
Shining.
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 And then
Took
he-
me a second.
He reprises his role as Obi-Wan in the TV show in 2022. So I think he's probably best known for this character, I would imagine, just across, if you ask most people.
Yep.
What's his actual peak, though? When is he like the leading man?
Probably.
I have my answer. It's actually like early 2000s. I think it's, you go Moulin Rouge, Black Hawk Down, and then sprinkle in Star Wars movies with Big Fish and Down with Love. He's like really showing off his acting chops. I think it's actually Big Fish because he like opened a giant movie, Big Fish and Down with Love, both in the same year, that are not like, they're not action films, they're not IP, but those movies both were critically decently well received and made a good amount of money. So I think 03 actually is the answer for me.
I'll take that. Yeah, because even if you think even with this one, it's a little bit more of an ensemble. Like he's a main character, but it's still there's a lot of people in this movie. Moulin Rouge, the same thing. Black Hawk Down, he's not the main character, and he's in that, but he's nowhere near one of the main characters in that movie. So yeah, I'd agree with you.
I don't know. I don't know that there is a peak. He's just sort of been consistently consistent. I'm not sure there is a peak. And I think like for the guy's been Obi-Wan for 20 years. Like he's Obi-Wan Kenobi even more than I think Alec Guinness is Obi-Wan Kenobi at this point.
Oh yeah, sure. And I don't think Pete needs to be like what you're best known for.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's just more about like when did you have like the most
I'm not sure
notoriety,
I'm not sure
the
he's
most
seen
juice?
it. I'm not sure he's seen it yet.
Interesting.
Yeah, at this point in time, I 100% agree. At that early 2000s is when he was at box office, could be the name on the marquee.
Yeah.
That's when it was.
He's still cranking out good stuff though. The season he was in Fargo was freaking great with his soon-to-be wife. She was in that season as well. This might be a little bit harder to argue, maybe. George Lucas. What's the peak of George Lucas? 71, he does THX 1138, American Graffiti in 73, A New Hope is in 77, Empire at 80. Before we get to Return of the Jedi, though, he's got Raiders of the Lost Ark in 81, Temple of Doom in 84, Willow in 88, and then he does these three. And just to kind of put some nice icing on the cake, he sells Star Wars to Disney for $4.05 billion in the fall of 2012. Just had to throw that in there, just in case you wonder if that's his peak. What do you think?
If you argue individually,
Yeah,
$4 billion is a lot of money. So
it's a lot of money.
it's a lot of money.
I don't think it's okay. Let's just say that's the peak for him financially. It's certainly not his creative peak.
No, not at all.
Well, but kudos to you, Matt. What do you got? What do you think?
Early to mid 80s. That whole Raiders and Indiana Jones, and then finishing up the Star Wars trilogy. That's where he kind of hit his mark. Not to knock a guy, but Howard the Duck.
You love it? Is that what you're saying?
Best movie ever made.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right answer. John, do you think anything different?
No, that's it.
I'm gonna say 81 with Raiders of the Lost Ark. Right, it's coming off Empire. It's right before Return of the Jedi. It's the first Indiana Jones movie. Like
Arguably the best Indiana Jones movie.
yeah,
We could argue that,
I
but
said
okay.
arguably.
it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I agree.
Weird Al. Did anybody go back and watch this like
You know
I did?
what? I did not. I will admit to not.
It's an amazing song. It's called "The Saga Begins," and it's done to the tune of American Pie.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I found a link to the Billboard Top 100 Weird Al songs, basically peak positions. Does anybody have a guess about what is the number one?
Eat It.
That's number two. Peaked at number 12 in
I'm
1984.
I'm fat.
Oh no.
What was the one?
Shit, I should know this one.
Oh crap!
Well, sadly, this song is not on in the top 10.
Really?
The song "Fat"
Okay,
is number
That's
10.
surprising to me because this was super popular in the nerd groups.
Well, I think though we got to remember
It wasn't popular like nationwide. It was popular in the nerd group, but not.
if you look at most viewed YouTubes, it's in the top 10,
Okay.
but it's not Billboard.
What's number one?
Top 10. Number one is White and Nerdy.
Oh, that's
Really?
that's a good one.
I would not have ever guessed that.
I wouldn't have guessed that one
either. I thought
wouldn't have
I'd never have
I
guessed
thought
that.
Eat It immediately, and I went to the article. I'm like, oh fuck, Eat It number 2. So White and Nerdy peaked at number 9.
I mean, that's legitimately hilarious.
Like a Surgeon peaked at number 47. Let's see, Amish Paradise, which I thought was going to be higher. That
Amish
was
Paradise
number
is
4 at 53. Smells Like Nirvana.
Great
That was
song.
at 35. Yeah, I mean, so like, there's a couple other ones too. Yeah, this is still a pretty amazing music video, and obviously, when you're getting the 2 thumbs up from the creator that they like your parody song, that you've done a good job.
Yeah.
Is this the peak for Star Wars? So this is kind of hard to like maybe really narrow down, but let me just give you some numbers, then you guys can kind of decide based on that. So Episode 4. It's ranked as number 15 on the AFI 100 Best Movies list. The original movie grossed $775 million worldwide, which would be $3.5 billion today, adjusted for inflation. $3.5 billion. That's fucking crazy. Toys from Hasbro. If you guys haven't seen the episode of Toys That Made Us about Star Wars toys, you should go watch that as soon as we're done recording this. Disney theme parks. We got Star Tours was the first one. Now they have the Rise of the Resistance and like the whole what do they call it? Galaxy's Edge.
Galaxy's Edge.
Galaxy's Edge.
Episode 7 grossed almost $1 billion, $936 million. Let's see. What else? Yeah. I'm just going to, the last couple of, it's continuously since 7 grossed less and less and less. Last Jedi was 620. Rogue One was 530. Episode 9 was 515. So what's the peak for Star Wars?
Oh, man.
Crickets.
Not this.
Not this.
I can say not this.
See, I disagree. I think it actually is.
Sure.
This.
I think it might be this because to go back to what you were saying before, Justin, you had people our age who saw it as kids, maybe. You had our parents who saw it as early adults, probably. And you had 20 years almost of buildup and Star Wars drought if you were just in regular pop culture. I think this is peak Star Wars because since episode 1 came out, you've had Star Wars content pretty regularly. I mean, even between, episode 1 came out, you knew 2 and 3 were coming out eventually. 3 came out, you had the Clone Wars, and then you've had Star Wars content from then until now, pretty much straight through, and it's always available, right?
So you're saying commercially it's its peak, not creatively.
Yeah. Yeah, commercially.
Those are two different questions.
Yeah, I think commercially
thinking
peak now. Creatively, episode 4.
Yeah, I think that's the right answer. And as far as like cultural impact, it's got to be episode 4. But as far as like the most highly anticipated thing, can you guys name a more highly anticipated thing to come out that everyone was talking about? You can't because you weren't born. But you guys, like when this was coming out, when this was
the only thing I can think of off the top of my head is Taylor Swift Eras Tour.
I think that's.
I mean, it's a similar kind of cultural touchstone for a lot of people. Like people travel.
I compare that. I compare that to episode 4.
Yeah,
I think that's episode.
Really?
I think Taylor Swift is like that is like a freaking comet that is like that's just crazy. You're like, oh my god, I have to like catch this lightning in a bottle, which was like what episode 4 was about. But to your point, like you were saying, I think that it bridges the gap from the older folks to like their kids and even a new generation growing up and kind of onboarding them into Star Wars. I just can't remember a movie trailer or even just like a release of anything that like people were like, everyone was talking about it. Like everyone, whether you were into Star Wars or not, it was like everywhere.
Maybe Jurassic Park.
Okay.
Maybe.
That's fair. With the book, with how popular the book was.
With how popular the book was. Like
I did see that 10 times in the theater.
Not at this level, but like maybe.
I mean, okay, so what about like, not Angels and Demons, but the other one.
Da Vinci Code.
Da Vinci Code.
Da Vinci
I was
Code.
thinking that too. That's close. That maybe is closer to Jurassic Park.
The Passion.
I don't
No.
know about that. Passion 2.
The Resurrection.
The Resurrection.
Good Lord. Anyway, so there's an it's an interesting comment that you just made there. And okay, what year did we graduate high school?
99.
99. What year did you graduate?
High school?
Yeah.
94.
Okay. So there's an interesting. So I'm friends with people. My brother-in-law is a little bit younger than us by about 4 or 5 years or so, and his wife is right in the age range for a different IP property that was just as big as Juggernaut.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Which John loves.
The people who are just a pinch younger than us, right? They grew up on this Harry Potter Juggernaut. And I remember when book 7 came out, people were in line at bookstores to get the book.
Y'all
It
can't see it,
insane.
but Adam is nodding like hardcore on this one, and I think it kind of falls into your same wheelhouse also.
Yeah, I had you forcing Star Wars down my throat, and then we also did Harry Potter a lot.
I did my job.
I think that's actually a really good point, but I think that almost proves the point of like what's the best creatively versus what has the most people talking about, whether they're fans or not. Everyone except for John Lambert went and saw Harry Potter.
I've seen one in the theater.
Shut up! I'm still mad at you. This fucker drafted Harry Potter in the draft for '99.
I understood
Hasn't
the
even
cultural
seen
impact of
He's
it.
never gonna. I'm never gonna forgive him for
Didn't
that.
read the book. Didn't see the
Never
films.
seen any of the books. I've only seen one movie in its entirety. And it's
Which movie?
Deathly Hallows Part 1.
Oh my god!
Didn't
not
even
even-
see part 2.
Nope.
Nice.
Like, didn't
I'm
see Part
impressed.
2 because I had no idea what was going on in Part 1.
Like, could you name a
Legit.
dumber movie to see for the only one to see out of like an entire series?
That was the only one.
That one would have been difficult.
That's like,
to
you
try
know
to
what?
catch
I'm
up
just gonna
on.
watch Attack of the Clones, and if I don't like that, I won't watch the rest of the Star Wars movies. Like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, you saw the best of the best in that one. Let's move on. Quoth the Raven. Favorite quotes. Adam, you get to go first.
Squeeze me from Jar Jar, but no.
Oh, is that who said it?
I didn't
I don't know
know.
what you're talking about.
I don't think you went high enough.
No, I tried.
Squeeze me.
Squeeze me. But from Watto, what do you think you're some kind of Jedi waving your hand around like that?
Jedi powers don't work on me.
Only money.
I am partial to Obi-Wan. Why do I think we're about to pick up another pathetic life form? Mostly because it's like out of left field. What? Is this a running joke between you and your master? Like, what is even going on right now?
Right.
But okay.
Well,
This is
they
the
picked up
thing they
one, Jar Jar.
Well,
They're
yeah.
going to pick up another one, allegedly.
That was number one on my quote board.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Another Obi-Wan, and it's a quote that happens a lot in all of these movies. I have a bad feeling about this.
But it keeps going though. And then Qui-Gon's like, I don't sense anything. Obi-Wan says, just to take a good quote to make it ridiculous, he goes, it's not the mission, Master. It's something elsewhere. Elusive. Like, all right, we get it, Obi-Wan.
We get it. There's a Phantom Menace.
You could have ended it right there if I have a bad feeling about this.
We know what the title of the movie is. Thank you.
Right. It's like a menace is phantoming somewhere. Go ahead, Andrew.
There's always a bigger fish. Qui-Gon when they're in the planet court. Yeah, but it's a useful quote. Actually, it's a quote that I have said outside of the context of this film.
Yeah.
So,
And there are actually 3 times there's bigger fish.
Yes, there are.
there is always a bigger fish.
You know, it kind of got me when Qui-Gon says Anakin Skywalker meet Obi-Wan Kenobi. With all the, obviously with all their relationship and history, like I was like, oh, this is pretty.
This is when they meet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got another one? Matt?
Oh, another one. Oh, shoot.
You don't have to have more. We
Now you put me on the spot.
I got
I
a
don't
bunch.
know. I got nothing.
Oh, I've got a bunch.
Well, I got one, and it's because it's funny. The droids every time it's Roger.
The Roger.
Roger.
Oh, wait. Oh,
Wait, that doesn't compute. Wait,
Roger? Is that why he's saying Roger? Because they're all named Roger, or is he just
Thanks,
repeating
airplane.
Roger?
what's your Clarence?
Anyways, Roger.
Well, along with these, wait, that doesn't compute. You're under arrest.
You're under arrest. Actually, I did have another one.
Okay.
It's from Anakin when he's leaving. I'll make sure Mom doesn't sell you. And he tells 3PO that. I find
sell
that,
me?
Sell me? Wait, what?
Oh, the ability to speak does not make you intelligent. Also useful.
In many contexts, yes.
I think I heard that one once or twice. To me.
My lord, is that legal?
I will make it legal.
So fucking terrible. These are not good quotes. These are just quotes, and you decide if they're good or not. Right. I got one more, but I think it's like I'm going to wrap it up unless you say it before me, John. Go ahead. Okay.
Well, it's the greatest pickup line in the history of the galaxy. Are you an angel?
Yep.
Something like that, yeah.
A good one from the pod race. I don't care what universe you're from. That's got to hurt.
Yeah, the commentators.
The commentators
Pretty good.
are actually
Pretty
pretty
good.
good.
That is
They're
actually
hitting
kind of
hard.
funny.
Yeah.
They are hitting hard. Palpatine wiped them out. All of
You
them.
got to say it better than that.
I'm not gonna
Wipe them out.
I can't go that.
All of them.
All of them.
Okay, now you're allowed to move on.
There we go.
That was my final.
That
quote.
was yours. Another kind of when Palpatine, I guess, doesn't really meet Anakin, but he tells, "Oh, we shall watch your career with great interest."
I mean, that was on my list. A little bit of lots and lots of foreshadowing.
Yeah,
But
right.
foreshadowing there,
It's
right?
not even
Yeah.
foreshadowing. It's just shadowing.
Yeah.
That's not even foreshadowing. It's like, this is what's going to happen. You got any more?
I got one more. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
Suffering. Always slows down on the suffering. And then another one. Hildebrand, you got any more?
No.
Okay, I got one more. And it's testing Anakin, and all the reasons because I was giggling when this happened, just because I was thinking of the meme when one of the Jedi says, "Your thoughts dwell on your mother," and the meme is, "No, my thoughts dwell on your mother." I wish I would have been in the movie, but I had to say that one.
I think that would have been if Obi-Wan or if Qui-Gon had survived. That might have made it into the second one.
Yeah.
Right,
Their banter back and
their
forth.
banter. Yeah.
You're canceled.
Oh God.
Oh, so much.
So many.
Lots of things we may want to change / get rid of. Matt, do you want to start? Don't say them all.
I will
save
start
some
with
for the rest
one.
of us.
I will start with one. And okay, so full context. These were problematic in 1999 when the movie came out. This is not 2024 looking back. This is in 1999 it was a problem. And it's the Trade Federation. I mean, the blatant stereotyping of the Trade Federation to a certain Asian nation. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
It's pretty terrible. And it was crap in 1999, and it has not aged any better. I was thinking about it last night, and one of the things that did bother me the most about it was they have an obvious accent that comes from an obvious part of a very certain nation. That's problematic. The other thing that really bothered me was the fact that when they're talking amongst themselves, they still have that accent and they're still speaking basic to each other. And I'm like, why would they do that? What?
Right.
Why are they still in that accent and why are they still speaking basic to each other? Because it's obviously not their first language.
Yeah.
And so that was really problematic. It just all around not okay, not good.
I mean, while we're talking about it, I might as well mention the Gungans,
Gungans,
too.
yeah.
Obviously,
I
they're-
was
Same concept.
Same thing.
Yeah.
it's like, could you think of a more stereotypical way to have them speak, act, even like just sound in general, their mannerisms, whatever. It's just. Can you even call it overt racism at this point? It's a little problematic, and again, it was in the '90s. It was bad, and it's obviously exponentially worse now.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I mean, that's a big one. You have thoughts? I'll let you go.
I'll go. I mean, I think overarching across a bunch of these is just kind of the stereotypical, whether it's Asians or Jamaican, whatever the Gungans are, or Watto being, I don't know. I mean, kind of stereotypically Jewish, I guess. I mean, mind tricks don't work on me. Only money. It wasn't. It didn't leave me even back then and now. Even now, didn't leave me with a good taste. I think.
Well, and the
I think
Jedi
a lot
are
of that
like-
shit could have been done a lot better.
The Jedi are like the white saviors, sort of. And,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot going on. Their Senate obviously is like the imperialist, like, what
Yeah.
happens? Like, it's basically Rome. It's anyway.
Which I think, to tangent a little bit into the Acolyte, like the way the Acolyte portrayed the Jedi as almost the enforcers of the Republic, like whether intentionally or not.
Oppressors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they were the enforcement arm of the Republic, which I don't think was meant that the Jedi were meant to be originally, but that's what they were. And you just see this see it in its full kind of glory, I guess, in the prequel trilogy.
And for that, and on that tangent, I'm not sure if George Lucas intended it or not, but there is a certain level of foreshadowing of just watching the Jedi at work, even in episode 1, where, man, these guys are kind of dicks, aren't they? Like legit.
They're the
you
cops.
guys are kind of
They're sort of
assholes.
like cops.
Very holier than thou.
Yeah, it's like you start to really get this inkling of, and it really fleshes out in episode 2 and even worse in episode 3. We talk about the word a lot, you and I do, is the hubris. Just this audacity that nothing can ever escape our sight. We're in control of everything, and nothing bad will ever happen. And you're like, wow, you're really setting yourself up, buddy.
Yeah.
Got 2 more. We got 2 more movies to go. Let's see what happens.
Well, I mean, it's about the demise of the Jedi and about Rome and about the cops.
The literal fall of the Republic.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's it's a little bit too over the top. The only thing I also would change, that I don't know that I noticed it as glaringly like uncomfortably when I was younger, but the whole Anakin like infatuation with Amidala, it just feels weird,
Creepy.
and creepy.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy.
It's supposed to be a 5-year gap. It's 9 to 14. They're 7 years apart in real life. John mentioned off air that Natalie Portman is actually our age. So at the time when we were seeing it, she was 18. And he was, I guess that would have made him 11-ish. But just why? Like, why don't just have him be older or her younger?
Yeah.
Like, it's a pretty easy fix. Like, it doesn't need to be that glaring of a gap.
He could have easily been 14 or 15.
And
in the
years
movie,
later-
and it wouldn't have
Or
changed
she could
anything.
easily
No.
been younger. She could have been a child queen.
Right.
Because that's never happened
legit.
before.
And
Right.
she's like a really small person anyway. So if you had said she's only 13 and he's 10, I would have been like, that checks out.
But
that makes sense.
then the whole dynamic has to change, right? Like his the way he is infatuated with her, I think, changes because he's 10 and she's 13. The way she reacts to him changes because she's 13 and he's 10. Like that, I think
She
that
reacts pretty
dynamic
favorably to him.
No.
I know,
What
but
I'm
he's
saying
too
is, but
kid-like.
if you age her down, the way she responds to him is going to be different. That dialogue, that dynamic has to change if you age her down.
I think this is an issue with Anakin, honestly. It's not necessarily an issue with her. And I think, and I was going to say this for later, I'll say it now, like, he's like too plucky or something.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he's too kiddie. He should be like darker or cooler or like he's a fucking genius. Like, he's doing all this shit. Like, he's way too childlike.
Yeah, and I can't tell if
he needs
it's-
to be more pompous
If
or
it was
like,
the actor, or if it was the script that did that.
I don't know.
Bear in mind,
The
I don't-
director.
Yeah, I was
Or
going to
the
say, like,
director.
it's definitely Lucas because Jake Lloyd. I mean, I don't think he was an actor before this. I think he was picked up in tryouts.
Yeah.
And Matt would know. He agrees. So there we go. And he's not really done much since.
Well, and what's sad is that then
As a
Hayden
result.
Christensen actually carries that on into episode 2 at the beginning, where he's like super whiny and being kind of odd and like saying some really weird fucking shit.
Yeah.
But by the time he gets to episode 3, I'm like, no, he's just fucking the coolest dude in the room, and that's okay. Like, that's where he needs to get to. But it's too much like. And it starts because of this age gap and the way that Jake Lloyd's playing it.
I think
I'm not even
they-
saying he plays it bad.
No,
but
I don't
because
think
of that
I don't
gap.
think it's Jake
Yeah,
Lloyd
I
at
don't
all.
think
I
we- I
think
don't
it's
think it's his
I think
fault.
it's the
Well,
directing and the writing and the age gap and all that.
I think
Jake-
they would have been better served if Anakin had been older.
A little
in
bit
this
older.
Movie. You could have made him a 14 or 15-year-old easily. It wouldn't have changed the story in any way, shape, or form. You make Amidala 18 or 19. You make him 14 or 15. He's a super genius mechanic at that point in time who's made droids and pods, and he's been a slave for his entire life, and he's got a chip on his shoulder.
And I think
him
I
not
think-
being-
I
He's
think
too old to
also
be
like
trained.
Right.
It also makes it easier for you to take Yoda's. He's too old.
100%.
Right.
That's what I
Right,
was gonna
like
say.
I
Yeah.
think the fact that you have this 10-year-old kid standing in front of the council and Yoda's sitting there saying he's too old to begin. Fuck you, he's too old.
Yeah.
And then you fast forward and you have these little kid Padawans.
They're all 9.
They're all little kids.
Yeah.
It's like whatever.
Yeah,
I think that the age that you're right. Anakin's age in the film, that it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I think they would have been better served with an older Anakin.
Another Spider-Man again. Let's do some recasting. This is John's favorite category, always.
Yep.
Yay.
Let's recast Palpatine first. Now, at the time, 55 is the age of what's his name? Ian
McDermott.
Ian McDermott. Yeah. So, who's got nominees? I got a bunch. I got a bunch. For
I got one.
1, 2.
I have one.
Adam's got. I know Adam's got
Adam,
one.
go.
Adam, go.
William Dafoe.
God.
I fucking love. I fucking love Willem Dafoe as that.
Yeah.
That's
He's got
a
to
good one.
play it like Green Goblin, though.
A little bit, yeah.
I support that.
Okay, I'll go. I liked Hiddleston.
Okay.
I like that. You know,
I dig that.
he's our age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I legit, I think. Okay, so if you just look at his stuff, he has the ability to be nice. He also has the ability to be very menacing when he needs to.
He's
be.
crazy Loki.
He's a
in
great.
Avengers.
He's a fantastic. He can do. He's an amazing
Right.
actor. He can
Right.
do whatever
so
you need him
like
to do.
he can because Palpatine has to do that flip. He has to flip the switch from nice guy senator, gonna make everything great to this guy who
Darth
will
Sidious.
literally kill you at the drop of a hat. So I liked him for that.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
He's on my list.
He's on my list. That's
reasonable.
one of my names. I'll
That's good.
I'll pause.
That's good. I've got two. I'll give you one. Gary Oldman. Again, he can do anything.
He could play fucking Ewan McGregor if we needed him to.
Oh yeah, he's amazing. Gary Oldman is rock star.
I like that. I got. I'm not going to give you all mine. I'll give you my favorites. I did have Jeffrey Dean Morgan there. I also had John Hamm. I think he's got to be charismatic. I think we got to have Ian McDermott.
I didn't even think about that.
Maybe
That would be
okay. That'd be interesting. That'd be an interesting one.
He might be too good looking and too like you're like that fucking guy has definitely got something going. Like he's not just some Senate out of Naboo, Michael Sheen.
Oh,
Okay.
You
okay.
guys know who Michael Sheen is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or Michael Sheen.
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 Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know who that is.
He's so good. That's actually my favorite. I have one more that's my
He
top
could
favorite.
be.
But
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah.
I feel like I've seen him play like the really fun, bubbly, nice guy, and then he can like turn it on to be like, I hate to like use a Volturi as an example from Twilight series, but he can be a bad guy. He's a better bad guy in other movies, but I'll just give my last one. Andy Serkis. Like he'd be fucking amazing as Palpatine. Apparently you guys don't agree, and that's okay.
I have to think about it.
I gotta-
didn't
I-
even-
that's not one- that was not- he wasn't even on my
didn't
list.
register in my
Although
head.
I mean, ton of range. He'd be great.
yeah.
He would be exceptional at the part when he turns into
The Emperor.
the Emperor.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
I'm not sure how good he can play the
He'd have to be
nice kind of
Charismatic.
the bumbling, representative or whatever.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay,
Well, Matt, did you have any others?
No, that's all I had. That's
John?
all
I
I
have I have quite a few others. You can go.
I have one more. I have Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin.
Joaquin. Yeah,
So,
thought about
again, I think he
about
can
him.
definitely pull off the dichotomy of like charismatic and also
Bad
incredibly
shit.
evil. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally fucking crazy.
it. Yep. So I also have Josh Brolin.
Are you just gonna hit for the cycle,
Yeah.
Josh Brolin?
Mads Mikkelsen,
Oh.
Okay.
and then just because he's the same age, or he's right around the age that Ewan McGregor.
I thought about that, but I couldn't get there.
Why? It'd be perfect.
I couldn't get
It'd
there.
be perfect. He could do it.
no, he's too.
It's not my favorite.
I don't
though.
see him as a bad guy. I like Jeffrey Dean Morgan personally of all the nominees. I
Yeah.
actually like Andy
No.
Serkis the best, but you guys don't like that, so we'll just go with Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Qui-Gon Jinn. 47 is Liam Neeson's age at the
I have
time.
a ton in here.
I'll start first. Just as Jana's favorite nominee, and it's pretty good. Dan Stevens. You know who Dan Stevens is?
Dan Stevens.
Who's Dan Stevens?
He is. Have you seen Legion? He's the main
Yeah.
character in Legion.
Oh. Okay.
Plays Legion.
Yeah.
He also plays Beauty. He plays the Beast in Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
He's in a whole bunch of
okay.
other stuff.
Yeah.
Like, those are the two major things people know
Okay.
him from.
The name did not recognize that.
Oh, he's also a Night at the Museum. He plays.
Who's he in
Who does he play? Might be Night at Museum 3. Like he's the main.
He's in Downton Abbey too.
Oh, that's right. He's in Downton Abbey too.
Who's
Yeah.
he in Downton?
I have no idea. I'm just.
He's like
looking,
the-
I'm just looking up things that he's in.
He's the one that's going to marry like the main character girl or whatever, and then he dies.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Matt knows what I'm talking about. If you've seen Downton Abbey, you know what I'm talking
God,
about.
that is like when I wanted to stop watching Downton Abbey. Wait, you killed him. You
don't want-
son of a bitch.
When Dan Stevens
Sorry.
dies, it's kind of a bit. He plays
Yeah.
Matthew Crawley.
Yeah, Matthew
Yeah,
Crowe.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I got super mad at Downton Abbey when they killed him. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
And then in what did I say? He's also in Night in Museum. He plays Sir Lancelot.
Oh shit!
Secret
okay.
of the Tomb. That's the third one.
That is the third one. Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
So Dan Stevens is my first nominee.
All right.
Who else nominee for Obi-Wan or Qui-Gon?
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yep.
I had.
He's too good looking.
He's very good looking, Jen. I had Fassbender.
That's my second one, and that's my favorite
Fassbender's
one.
right. Fassbender's a good
I
one.
was sitting there thinking, I was like, Fassbender would be great in this.
Fassbender should be the answer, guys.
Yeah.
You can give up
Fassbender's a
the
good one.
nominees, but it's going to be
Yeah,
hard.
that is a good
It's
one.
going to be hard to convince me otherwise.
I had James McAvoy.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
you got the Fassbender McAvoy duo there.
Right.
What if that McAvoy be
Couldn't
Palpatine?
I
There
was
you
just
go.
gonna
Yeah,
say,
see,
like,
there you
have
go.
him be
Right-
Palpatine.
right there.
He could be Palpatine. I actually had Hiddleston for this.
I think he's a better Qui-Gon, actually. I agree.
And then again, because they're the same, Hayden Christensen.
Oh, so you just want everyone to play
just want
Yeah,
everyone
I
to
want
age up.
everyone to-
You
well,
just-
I
you just
for
age
these
up.
two. Just for these two. None of the other
And
ones.
Obi-Wan is
Jesus.
going to be Jake Lloyd.
Jake Lloyd or yeah, right? Exactly.
No.
And Shmi is going to be is it
Natalie
Smee?
Portman.
Natalie Portman.
Natalie
obviously.
Portman.
Shmi,
Yeah,
obviously.
Natalie
Yeah.
Portman.
Portman.
Yep,
Obviously.
totally.
Clearly.
no.
All right.
No.
Well, we've done it.
Just those two. That was it.
I've got Pedro Pascal as Qui-Gon.
I that's a pretty good one. That'd be tough to.
I love that
I would
one.
vote for that too.
I love that
I just also love Pedro Pascal.
He's awesome.
So good. And everything.
Yes.
All right. So Fassbender is the winner.
What about? Just sorry, I got one more.
Oh, you got more?
I got one
sorry.
more. I actually have two more. I have Keanu Reeves as Qui-Gon.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that.
Dude,
I think he's actually
fucking amazing.
Only if during the pod race he says "whoa."
He has to say "whoa," and it would be, of course, be during the pod race, or like when a Duel of the Fates, when the door opens and he opens the two. Whoa,
Whoa.
yeah, sweet.
or right before he fights him, he goes, "I know kung fu."
Exactly.
Or he knows kung fu.
He knows kung fu. And then a dark horse, Daniel Radcliffe as Qui-Gon. He's a little young, but I think he could pull it off.
I think he might be better
fun.
as Obi-Wan.
Could pull it off.
That's
I
see
see.
him, I see him more as
like
Obi-Wan.
I felt like he was a little old for Obi-Wan because Obi-Wan's like 20.
28.
Yeah.
28.
Yeah.
28. All right, so Fassbender.
Sure.
All right, Fassbender.
All right. Yes. Winner. Obi-Wan, this is a little bit harder. I have a couple that I am more partial to. I'll rattle off a couple and then we'll go around. Andrew Garfield.
Of course.
Pretty good.
Okay.
Good one.
If we want someone who's maybe a little darker, or Jeremy Allen White would be good. We know him
Yep.
he's from the Bear.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right.
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he'd be good.
Paul Mescal, who was just
He was on my list.
Gladiator.
He was on my
Yeah.
list.
He was the only name on my list.
Yeah.
Paul Mescal, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll stop
I had
naming
two- I
names.
had
'Cause That's
two.
three. I actually have
Yeah.
two more, but go ahead.
Actually, Adam. I like Adams because
Sticking
he's going
with
to
the
round
theme
out.
here, Tom Holland.
Adam's rounding out Spider-Man.
There you go.
So Zendaya is going to be that queen?
Absolutely.
Okay, I didn't put on Zendaya or Queen
Zendaya is
Amidala on
like
here.
that.
Yep.
She was
But
right
we
in.
did. Well, a couple
full
of us.
Spider-Man
I think
cast.
The three of us did add in Padme as another recast.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did I.
Did you? All right. Well done.
100%.
I thought it's always hard to cast people who are like 18. But we'll get to her in a minute then. Okay, all right. So
I
Padme.
pulled Austin Butler for Obi-Wan.
Again, might be too good looking.
Which, I mean, Ewan McGregor
no.
is a good looking guy.
Yeah,
He
he
is
is.
good.
He
An
is.
unattractive man.
Beard him.
Come on, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not bad. These are all
What
good.
was yours?
Paul Mescal.
Oh, yours was Paul Mescal too.
Yes.
Yeah, I had Paul Mescal and Austin Butler. Those were my two.
Okay. I also have Richard Madden.
Okay.
You guys know who Richard Madden is?
Yes. Game of Thrones.
He's
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah.
Rob Stark.
Rob Stark.
Yep.
Taron Egerton.
Okay.
Oh,
be
yeah.
good.
Okay.
all right.
Yeah.
Definitely a little
Yep.
bit more athletic version of Obi-Wan, which
Yep.
that's Ewan McGregor's pretty fucking athletic. But I also had Tom Holland too. If we're going young, so Tom Holland. I think actually Paul
I like
Mescal.
Paul Mescal
Paul
better,
Mescal
but-
should be the winner.
Yeah.
Let's go Paul
It's coin,
Mescal.
it's coin toss.
Those
They're
two.
both
If we're
good. They're both
recasting
good.
Spider-Man, if we land on Zendaya for Padme, then we can go ahead and
retro. We can
okay.
retcon.
So who do we got
Tom
for Padme? I'm gonna think about this for a second. What do you guys get? John, go.
I had one name. It was Millie Bobby Brown,
Oh, she was on my list too. She's awesome.
She came up.
Yeah, it's a good
and
one.
she's 20.
Yeah.
She could play it as you could.
Perfect.
I don't.
She could
I mean,
totally-
you'd obviously be like she's older, but she could also play 14 or 15.
Yes,
Be believable at least.
Yeah.
yes. That
was your own?
That was the only one I had.
I had Jenna Ortega.
Yeah, she's a good one
Fuck
too.
yeah,
Again,
she'd be.
could play
She'd be great.
I think
14 or
she could
15.
pull
Yeah.
off the "I'm gonna kill you" look and then hit you over the head with a gun.
Yeah.
So
She's only 20.
Yep.
22.
But again,
doesn't matter.
Can play
Magic,
younger.
come
she can
on.
play younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make
Or
up
she
makeup
could
is
just
easy.
be 22.
Or she could be 22
and
and
Anakin could be
15?
like
18.
18, and then we could get over the thing.
Yeah.
The awkwardness.
Totally.
Yes.
And the age gap is not weird in the 2 and 3. Like that's fine. That's-
Yeah.
I mean, there are people that get married
Yeah.
15, 10 years apart from
Yeah.
each other.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not. That's not crazy. But do you have any other-
I've got Halle
Zendaya?
Bailey. Oh, you have. Oh, sorry. Adam has
I'm
Zendaya.
just kidding.
Of course.
Gotta get that out there.
Of course.
Just kidding.
I had Halle Bailey, so she was the Little Mermaid in the latest live action.
Yeah.
And I also had Emma Corrin, who was Cassandra in Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine.
Right. Okay.
All right, I got a couple. I'm going to throw
we
out there Joey King. Is that what Joey King is?
No.
She was in that. What's the train one with Brad Pitt? Just came out recently. Bullet Train.
Bullet
Train.
She's the young
Like the
girl
girl.
assassin.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right. Yeah, okay.
I think she'd be good. How about? I actually really like Kiernan Shipka. Kiernan Shipka. You don't know who Kiernan Shipka is? She plays Sabrina, the teenage witch. She was in Mad Men. She's John Hamm's daughter.
Oh, okay.
She's in a ton of things. What else is she in?
She's in Red One.
Oh yeah,
New
she's
Netflix
in the new Netflix movie Red One. She's in the new Twisters movie for doing new stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
She's in a ton of things.
She's in Long
Who
Legs.
is she in Red One?
I don't know. I haven't seen it. Let's see.
Didn't we just watch Red
We
One?
did.
She's the bad guy.
She is.
She's the antagonist.
Gryla?
Oh,
She's literally the
she's
bad-
the bad guy,
The witch.
the witch.
Got to think about someone
Okay.
who would be able to be believable as like a 15-year-old, but also
20,
like
15 to 20.
take over some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Having said that, though, I actually think Jenna Ortega and Millie Bobby Brown are probably.
Those are,
I think
those,
Jenna
I think
Ortega
those two
is
win.
my vote
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Okay. To stream or not to stream? I don't know if this would be a good. I don't think this is a good TV show. Even though I was kind of proven wrong by Attack of the Clones and then turning that into Clone Wars, like that entire war being a TV show is pretty fucking awesome. I would watch a pod racers show though, like a show about just the pod, just about the pod racing
Pod racing.
scene.
The
On
underground
Tatooine?
pod
Like a
racing scene on
docudrama,
Tatooine.
like a pod racing docudrama type thing. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, or like even like have you guys seen like the F1 one that's on
Yeah.
Netflix?
Yeah,
where it's,
exactly.
like, every episode's
Exactly.
about a different pod racer.
Yeah. Yes.
It can be live action or animated. I don't care. Maybe go into the Huts, the gambling ring for an episode or two.
Well,
Yeah.
you gotta touch on that a little bit.
Touch money lines. Like I got to retire a couple guys because the up and comers are coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. I think that'd be fun.
Air quotes retire. Retire. the guys.
Retire.
In the hut,
Yeah.
in the hut context over time.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately
end up
we
in the
agree
Sarlacc
this
We
is,
got this nice Sarlacc pit over here.
yeah, that'd be
It's a,
freaking
it's a
cool.
retirement community.
Yes.
Take a Sarlacc nap.
But ultimately this is
sleep with the Sarlacc tonight.
this is
Ultimately,
staying as a movie. Absolutely.
yeah. No.
Yeah. I don't know how. I don't
Definitely
know
a film.
Yeah, I don't know how you turn it into a TV show. You'd have to add so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know how you like even like a limited run, let's say 4-6 episodes.
Oh, that's the only thing you could do.
Like,
you
I don't
couldn't
know.
do like
You would have-
multi seasons. It would be like a mini series. Like,
yeah, like but you
done.
have to add so much stuff.
you could add. Some
I think
I
we
guess you
go
could.
back to like the underlying conflict here is so weak. Like you can't make a show out of a trade conflict,
no.
right? I mean, you just
No.
it's a film.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I could be
I don't.
I mean, that'd be
Nah.
the slowest burning show of all time.
Right.
That would be like Downton Abbey.
You'd have to make up a lot. Again, you'd have to make up a lot of stuff. You'd have to create a lot.
You'd
of
have to
things.
flesh out a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Whole episode on the pod race, a whole episode on the invasion of Naboo, a whole episode. Like it would
Oh, the
just
pod race is like 4 episodes. It might be a season as the
build
pod
up.
race.
Well, and then you could split up. You could have 4 separate episodes: one for the duel,
Right.
One for the ship, one
Yeah,
for the
for the Gungan
kidnapping,
battle.
and one
Yeah.
for the Gungan battle.
Yeah, you could do that.
Okay,
That's
all right.
the only reason.
there you go.
need
That's the only
shows.
way. That's the only way it works.
Miniseries.
I'm
Yeah, that's
convinced.
the only way
Greenlight
works.
it.
Done.
Greenlight it.
Miniseries, got it.
Tomorrow's another day. I think this has already kind of been answered with episode 2 in the Clone Wars, right? We
Yeah.
kind of know what happens next.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a gap there.
You could spend some time with Anakin training and
I wrote that
becoming
down. I wrote that down,
becoming a Padawan and that kind of thing.
Yeah, but other
that's
than that,
about
we
it.
know
So
pretty
that-
much
And
Yeah.
get some more foreshadowing on the conflict.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that is obviously
Yeah.
brewing within him that turns him into Darth Vader. Like some more foreshadowing on
I
that.
mean, and it's a good 10 years of stuff that
Right.
happens.
Like there's all kinds of weird adventures that the two of them could get into because Obi-Wan's gonna be tasked with doing Jedi stuff.
Yeah.
He's a
and
Jedi
he's got to
master now.
drag his Padawan around with him on these stupid missions, and
Right.
obviously everything is always going to go wrong because he's got Anakin with him.
Right.
Like legitimately, the man is a trouble magnet. I mean.
But he gets him out of it too, and you
Right,
actually get to
right.
see like how powerful this kid is. Because I'm not sure you ever really see how big of a badass Anakin is until you watch Clone Wars.
Right.
Like if you just watch Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, I don't think that you really get that vibe from that. Like
No,
you're
I mean,
like,
you can
you're
tell
like,
he's a badass.
Yeah,
but
he's
you
a
don't
badass,
see
but
it.
you don't see it as much
Yeah,
on screen, right?
Yeah.
So that would be kind of cool to see that development a little bit more.
Yeah.
Nerd facts. I'll start. Trailer for the Phantom Menace debuted on select screens showing Meet Joe Black. I think that's an underrated movie, by the way. Reportedly, people were buying tickets to Meet Joe Black to watch the trailer and then leaving before the movie even started. To try and keep this from happening, though, theaters started showing the trailer at the end of the movie a second time. So if you wanted to see that trailer twice, you could watch the whole film and watch the second trailer. Watch the same trailer a second time.
Like as a theater owner, why the fuck do I care?
Yeah,
you bought
got
a
the
ticket.
money.
You bought a ticket. You probably got some concessions. Maybe if you're there to watch Star Wars, you might stick around and play some video games. Like you got paid. Why do you care if they stick around for the movie?
Yeah.
Maybe it was a
I'm with you on
commotion
that
to
one.
the viewers.
Maybe.
Meet Joe Black
that could
is
be.
a movie
I mean,
you have to really pay, especially the first, you have to watch
Just,
the first
I guess
3 minutes.
it's disruptive.
Otherwise,
it's
you're like, what's
disruptive for the
happening?
show. Yeah, because he.
Yeah,
I
disruptive
mean, he
to
is
the
deaf.
audience.
So
That's when you just roll out. Hey, if you're only here to see the trailer, sit over here. Everybody else sit over here.
right, or you
Problem solved.
or you pause like you. All right, hey everybody, just
All
so
right.
you know, we're going to show the Star Wars trailer. We're going to pause for 2 minutes to let everybody who doesn't
get
want to
the
watch
fuck outta here.
Meet Joe Black get out, and then we'll start the film.
Yeah, if you come in holding a plastic lightsaber, you go in this section.
Right, right.
You don't.
Exactly.
Exactly.
If you're a woman,
Dressed like a Wookiee.
to watch Brad Pitt.
If it's a date, obviously you have to sit over here.
Right. That's automatic giveaway. There's 2 of you. All right, you can be on the Meet Joe Black section. We know
like
that.
going to a wedding. Like, are you on the bride side or the groom
The
side?
groom side. Right, right.
Yeah.
Lucas was so burnt out from directing Star Wars that he did not direct the next 2 movies in the original trilogy. He had planned for the sequel trilogy and then nixed those plans before Return of the Jedi had even come out. He was, in fact, so done with Star Wars. He was so done with Star Wars, period. But he had so much backstory that he started thinking about prequels, and he felt that the CGI was good enough when Episode 1 came out, so he was able to get back into the swing of things.
I mean, 1, 2, and 3 can't exist without the update of all of the Lucas, all of the Lucas editing, Lucas lights, Lucas sound, and whatever it is, like all the CGI improvements. You can't make a lot of that film.
Yeah, I think
No, you
trying
can't.
to do that using practical effects.
You can't do
would have
pod
been
racing
so
with like
hard.
miniatures like they did in like Episode 4, 5, and 6. It's pretty. It would have looked like
You
It
can't
would've
stop
been-
motion
it would've
pod
been
race.
so much.
Yeah.
it would have looked like the speed racer chase in
Oh, yeah.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And
Or the trench
would
scene
not
in,
have been great.
in Episode 4. Right.
Yeah. I mean, but that's what Lucasfilm did.
Yeah.
I mean, they made special effects. I mean,
Yeah.
they
And I
were
like-
the powerhouse.
And I like a lot of the updates they do to 4, 5, and 6. I actually really enjoy the fact that like when they destroy the Death Star too, you see all of the planets celebrating. You see Coruscant. You see all Naboo.
Yeah, no,
whatever it
I
is.
do like that.
There are moments that the CGI improvements like really add to it, but adding this animatronic or the CGI dancer in Jabba's palace was kind of like, why are you doing that? I don't know that I like Hayden Christensen being the Force ghost at the end of Return of the Jedi. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know. It kind of does, but also not really.
I don't know.
But
Not
I
a big
digress. Yeah.
I don't. There's a lot of parts that I don't like about the updates, but that's another episode.
That's another episode.
We could do that for like an hour and a half. Okay, so one weird fact that I happen to know that just lives inside of my head is the handmaidens. Later on in Star Wars lore, even after post Disney, like Sabe has a whole character arc post all of this stuff. So she's still there. She's still helping out the queen, but then she goes on some secret missions and she comes back and the queen is changed and she doesn't know why. And then she sniffs out the whole Anakin Padme thing. And then she's like, well, that's what is going on. And then Padme's suddenly dead, right? And nobody knows why. Nobody knows what happened. There's only 2 people in like the whole universe who know what happened to Padme, right? And nobody's talking. And so she's like, why did she die? And so there's this whole character arc with her. And then the other handmaidens, later on, where they form this group of people who try to hunt down the people who killed Padme. Like literally, they're called the Amidalans. I'm not kidding. It's
That's
a real
awesome.
thing.
That's actually pretty awesome.
And they try to hunt down who killed Padme because they finally decide she didn't just die, right? Somebody killed her, so we got to hunt her down. Got to hunt down this person. And Sabe in particular ends up getting in these crazy adventures. She ends up going on missions with Vader. Like legit becomes a member of Crimson Dawn, if you remember any of that. And then she becomes a member of the Imperial as like an internal spy. She ends up on missions with Vader, like as
Ironic.
like the two of like it's a pair that the 2 of them actually end up going on adventures together. It's crazy. She figures out eventually that he's actually Anakin. And so then obviously shenanigans ensue from there. And so it's really interesting. It's all in the comics, but it's really interesting there's this side character who was really invested in Padme and then goes on these crazy adventures and ends up helping, the Alliance later on, helps the rebellion. And then she's still alive at the end of Return of the Jedi, and nobody knows what happens with her at that point because nobody's actually written anything about it. But she's still alive. She's helped everything. She's lived through all of that, and then she's still alive after Jedi, and like that's kind of where her story stops because nobody's actually ever written about it yet. But it's really interesting. I don't know. It's one of those weird. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool that they created this character arc for her.
Yeah.
But
Very cool.
Fortunately for Lucas, he held on to the 15-page outline he had written for Star Wars all the way back in 1976. This outline included information on character backstories and events that had happened before the original trilogy. He used some of the details from this outline, but one key difference is that he lowered Anakin's age from 12 to 9. Womp womp.
There we go.
Way to go, George.
George Lucas wrote Episode 1 in 1994, actually, by hand with a pencil and notebook paper. He writes all of his scripts that way.
That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
Old school.
Very.
And he wrote this one in 94. First
Yep.
time he wrote this script.
Exactly.
only someone had edited it for him.
That's what happens when you have full creative control. Nobody edits your shit.
The Phantom Menace is an intriguing, if opaque, title. For most of the production, though, the movie had a much simpler title. Originally, Lucas called it The Beginning.
I like that.
I kind of like that. It's
Kind of like
freaking
that too.
Yeah, but then it implies it's like the beginning of Star Wars and the Jedi.
Yeah, it's just the beginning of the Skywalker saga.
yeah.
Which wasn't a thing, right?
No.
Not until later on.
Not till
Right.
later on.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I guess I could see it. I mean, he's just throwing names out, I suppose. I like Liam Neeson. He was eager to be in the film, and he signed on without reading the script at all because he wanted to be in Star Wars. So kudos
probably-
to him.
Probably good for all of us, because if he'd have read the script, he'd have said, "This is shit." I can't say this, George.
No kidding. Ewan McGregor had dialogue coaching to prepare for the role. He worked hard to capture the calming tones and inflections of Sir Alec Guinness to best play the character, which he called quite tricky.
For sure. Set director Peter Walpole and his team used medical equipment to bring the locations of episode 1 to life. The team at the Levinston prop department determined to keep costs down, picked through a medical supplier warehouse crammed with old equipment and haggled down the price of every piece. The pieces were then combined in creative ways to craft the items decorating the Skywalker home. And also, the haggling was used as dialogue during the junk trader scenes.
I also think it's really cool how they use real life. I mean, how they are able to bring these sets together and then like use like real life effects.
Yeah.
I mean, this is before computers basically did every single thing.
I think what's cool about the Star Wars universe in general and is that it feels lived in. Right. A lot of the sort of quote unquote futuristic whatever, like everything is pristine and nice and clean and whatever. And Star Wars is grungy.
Especially Tatooine.
Especially Tatooine.
Well, and
which
that
makes
goes-
sense because it's a fucking desert planet and like
Yeah.
there's dust and shit everywhere.
Yeah, and that goes back to like the first movie,
Right.
right? I mean, they cobbled together the sets and everything out of junk piles. Literally, junk piles is where the first movie came out of. Those sets, the lightsabers, the everything was piles of crap that were sitting outside, left over from World War II
Whatever else,
and
right.
Korea,
Right.
right? So, yeah, I mean, it gives it that look. And that was intentional. I mean, by far, it was my assumption is that was 100% intentional by Lucas because he didn't want shiny, bright Buck Rogers stuff. He wanted it to be a real place.
Well, the practical arts are so cool too. Like for example, the waterfalls of Naboo were actually created with salt, and they took salt, poured it over an edge, filmed it, and poured it into a computer, and they used that to digitally create the texture of rushing water.
Pretty cool.
I mean, there's a ton of documentaries on
creative.
like episode 4, like A New Hope, and how they did all of the TIE fighter scenes and everything like that. It's just like, I don't know. The practicality and the way they turn that into what you see on screen is freaking cool.
Right.
And they kind of like, I don't want to say they started this, but they definitely revolutionized it in the 70s and 80s.
Samuel L. Jackson got the role of Mace Windu in part through an appearance on a British talk show TFI Friday to promote a different movie. The casting director for The Phantom Menace, Robin Gurland, heard that Jackson made his wish to be in the new Star Wars known while chatting on the talk show, and the rest is history.
What movie is that, you think, that he's promoting?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It's not Star Wars.
7?
Well, no. He would have been promoting a movie in preparation for the casting of this one. So this would have been filmed in 97.
I'm going to say Pulp Fiction.
I'm guessing Pulp Fiction.
Probably Pulp Fiction.
Like in 94, that far?
Think that early?
Maybe.
Yeah, I bet.
I don't know. He does.
That or Jackie Brown, maybe. Or
Maybe Jackie Brown.
Yeah, he does. Samuel L. Jackson does some good interviews. If people have asked him about Star Wars, about just like them bringing him in and like, oh yeah, don't you want to try out for this? And then they just like show up and like start dressing him as a Jedi, and he goes, wait, what?
Yeah.
And there's some pretty funny interviews with him over the
Time
years.
to Kill was 96.
Oh, could have been
Time to
that
Kill,
one.
maybe?
Could have been
Long
Time to
Kiss
Kill.
Goodnight was 96.
Yeah, could have been any of those.
Eve's Bayou was 97.
Sphere?
Sphere was 98.
That's the answer?
Jackie Brown was 97.
It looks like he was. I think he might have been promoting Sphere because I'm seeing something on CBR.com that he was on the set of Sphere when he got the call from the casting director to be in the Phantom Menace.
So he was
Oh, that's
promoting
pretty
the
fucking
filming
cool.
of Sphere.
I think he was promoting the filming
Promoting
of Sphere.
Okay.
It makes
that-
sense.
And then
He's
how
in like
cool
two
would it be to get
scenes.
that
Well, and
call?
that-
Like,
and
hey, do
that-
you want to be in Star Wars? Yes.
Well, yeah. And that actually does make sense because, like, while Sphere was not a great movie, it was a great book, and there was a lot of hype around that movie. So I'm sure he was doing
Yeah,
a press
totally.
junket for
Makes
that.
sense.
That's a Michael Crichton book.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
he was doing a press junket. That I'm guessing that's what it was.
Producer Justin coming in clutch.
I like it.
Pretty much. All right, Natalie Portman. When she saw the movie for the first time, she was a little surprised because her voice was digitally changed. when she was speaking in her queen voice because they wanted to bring it down and register to make it more royal or whatever. Who knows? Somebody made a decision
pretty
that
deep.
they wanted it to come down. And watching the movie now and like realizing that fact, you really can hear it. You're like, that's not her voice in any way, shape, or form. Somebody did something to that, and then you're like, yep, they totally messed with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and even in the following films, her voice isn't that low.
No.
Like it's her regular voice. Yeah.
Yep. Nick Gillard found inspiration for the sword fighting style of the Jedi at the height of their power in a few surprising places. The stunt coordinator described the fighting style seen in the iconic duel at the end of the film as a mixture of kendo and samurai, and every sword style it's ever been, and a bit of tennis, and a bit of tree chopping. Everything that you could swing.
Tree chopping.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
What's cool about that is that you can go to fencing studios now. There is actually an official style guide for lightsaber, for Star Wars fencing. There's a real style guide now, and it's actually a legitimate thing that you can go and learn now.
If they did it for real, they would go all the way down to forms 1 through 7. But I'm just going to leave it at that.
I don't know how they do that, but anyway.
All right. Speaking of lightsabers, the Jedi and the Sith went through 300 aluminum lightsaber blades while filming the Phantom Menace. Stunt coordinator Nick Gillard helped build the new lightsabers for the physically and mentally intensive duels. 300 aluminum blades. That's
I wonder how
insane.
many they broke in 2 and 3, or especially 3.
Have you seen the clip of I think it's Ewan McGregor and Liam Neeson being interviewed about this? It's one of the press tours around this film, and they're talking about doing a lightsaber duel, and like the first time they get the lightsabers out and they're starting to fight and they're making the lightsaber sound and just out of reflex and like Lucas stops and he's like, guys, we'll put the sound in later. Like,
No. I want to do it right now.
That's also in the Blu-ray commentary.
that's so
In case
awesome.
You guys want to watch it? So I think we all know that David Prowse, who played Darth Vader in the suit, obviously James Earl Jones was brought in later on, unbeknownst to David Prowse, to voice over everything that he was saying. Same thing happened to Ray Park and Darth Maul, and after the fact, they brought in Peter Serafinowicz in post-production and dubbed over the voice of Darth Maul. And I don't know. I don't know for a fact, but I'm pretty certain it's also the voice that's used later on in. Like he does the voice later on in Solo, and maybe some other things he's in.
Oh, I thought it was
So Sam Witwer's
Whitwer is the. I thought he did the voice, of Solo
for
too.
Clone Wars and Rebels.
He does it for Solo too.
I don't know if he did it for Solo too. I don't know if Sam did that one as well, but he's the one who did all the Clone Wars and all the Rebels Darth Maul scenes. Mr.
Oh, I know.
Spider himself.
I know he is. He also he's in a he basically his first appearance is Sam Witwer is when he's in all the video games, right?
Force Unleashed.
He plays
Starkiller.
Starkiller. Thank
Killer.
you. I'm just going to point.
He's
to
got a
Matt, and you're
podcast
gonna
too,
say
by the way.
things.
He has a podcast too.
He's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
We saw him at Comic-Con. He had a little booth and he was doing signatures and everything.
Awesome.
We did not go and stand in line.
You didn't stand
but
in
we did go.
line for 2
hey,
hours.
look, there he is, and we walked by and waved, and then kept moving on because the line was super long.
Sam Witwer does do the voice and in Solo, and Ray Park is still playing the body.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Robot legs and everything.
Mm-hmm. No, he's got regular legs in Solo.
No, he doesn't.
Doesn't he?
That's way after he has his body chopped in
No.
half.
I thought at some point didn't he end up getting legs again, like
No.
actual,
Yeah,
like
in Clone Wars, the
gets
witches.
Ow, they're still fake legs.
Well, they're fake legs, but they're real.
but they're not Spider-Man legs. They're like spider legs.
do
like
love
he had.
the
well,
spider
he,
that was fucking weird.
he had the metal legs,
Right.
And then
Yeah.
they like put skin on them. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
with-
they
yeah.
look normal.
Yeah, they look like regular
The
legs.
witches.
Yes.
Fucking witches.
But
Anyway.
it was the witches.
Goddamn witches.
Anyways, Watto was the first CG character that the effects team went to work on. Through his design and motions, the team quickly learned how to achieve what they wanted on featured digital characters. Even just the cord on his tool belt had to have its own computer program written to simulate its movement properly. This was also the same program used in Jar Jar's flapping ears.
Huh.
Those are great ears.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the ears do
The ears
a
are
good
pretty
job.
good.
I'm not going to knock them.
The ears are pretty good.
The CGI work done for Jar Jar was fantastic. The character itself, anyway,
It's the best character
different day.
of all time.
What other day than to talk about Jar Jar Binks than
Sith
today?
Jar Jar is by far the best Jar Jar.
Sith Jar Jar, by far, that is a quality event. Yes, no, please don't. Anyway, the dialogue's bad for him. Sorry.
Agreed.
Oh my God.
What are you apologizing to me for? I didn't write it.
Okay. All right. So some of the cheers emanating from the audience during the pod race were actually recorded from a 49ers game, which is convenient because Lucasfilm was literally down the street from there. Ben Burt, who is the sound designer, went to the football game and just had his recording going, so that way he could put it into the film later, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, you've got a captive audience, essentially, who's going to be yelling and screaming. You might as well use it.
Yeah, just edit out the
Indeed.
"fuck you Raiders."
Yeah,
Like
well, you know. Or leave it in, you know. I mean,
or leave it in there.
Fuck you, Tusken Raiders.
right? You know.
You're right. Well done.
That works.
Jar Jar Binks was originally designed with a green skin. The design team later realized that most aquatic creatures on our own planet don't sport green hues, so they changed his skin tone to orange.
Makes sense.
Interesting. Yaddle is actually an early young Yoda design. Concept artist Ian McCaig. I'm gonna call that Ian McCaig. Began designing the Jedi Master's younger look as an 8-year-old version of the character. That concept eventually became another Jedi in the film, Yaddle, he revealed.
Yaddle makes appearances later on in different movies and shows.
Yeah, she's
He's
in
just in the background.
well,
she's a big role in one of the Visions.
in one of the Visions
actually.
episodes. Yeah, she
Yeah,
goes up
in
against
the-
Dooku.
Yeah. The first scene that was filmed was when Darth Sidious and Darth Maul are chatting on the balcony, and that marked the beginning of production in 1997. And again, even though Samuel Jackson, talking about Sphere, he's only in a couple scenes, so like, you know, pre-production, production, filming probably took a while to do. And he's like so little into it, he could probably just make a couple bit appearances at the end. I don't even know why I started talking about that, but 97, 98, I'm saying it's a long time to be filming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, it took a long time to film. I mean,
Well,
it
I
was a
bet
pain in the
honestly,
butt.
I bet filming probably took 6 months or 8 months or whatever. But the post production, all the CGI work took forever.
Yeah, I mean that was
Yeah.
a Herculean effort. I mean, because it's still, I mean, it's not great.
It's a lot of work.
It's not great by today's standards. I mean, having watched it, you know, yesterday, the CGI is okay. It's not great by today's standards, but for 1999, yeah, okay, that was mind blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last category, internet thoughts. Did we learn anything? I only have one thought, and that's who thinks of the names of these planets and characters and races. I mean, there's some wild names throughout the course of this film and of this entire series, right? Like, who thought of Yaddle? Like, just, I mean, there's some fun names and things that are going on in this room or in this film.
Yeah.
No.
Anyone else have any thoughts?
What's up with all the deep holes in spaceships that people fall down? Like, that seems like a design flaw.
Yeah.
Like, Palpatine fell down one, Maul, like, there's just room, and it's just got a fucking death pit in it. Like, what is who designs these things?
Well, I mean,
What
room are they in? What are they
Why are
fighting?
they in, and what's the purpose of that?
Why are they fighting in that room? And who
And
designed
what are
it?
all those lasers?
it's
like,
not
what are
like,
those to do?
It's not like that room is easy to get to. You got to
Yeah.
go through like
But
a
why is it
gauntlet of
there?
laser walls to get there. I'm pretty sure those are safety features, John.
No,
If you want to
So
go,
you don't get into the
if
hole.
you want to go down that rabbit hole even further,
they were safety
handrails.
features, you couldn't just like,
Handrails in Star
you couldn't
Wars.
just time it right to get in there. All you gotta do is just time it right.
Yeah.
Side note, like, speaking of that, force speed. Couldn't Obi-Wan just force sped through those damn things and then boom, it's 2
Yeah, but then you you got to slow down fast enough before you fall into the hole.
then he's gonna fall into a pit. What's the pit there?
Yeah, there are a lot of pits in Star Wars.
I know. It doesn't make any sense. You gotta fall down something.
Exhaust shafts are a thing, apparently.
Very important hole in the ground.
It's
Yeah.
an important hole.
Very important.
I think it's
All right.
Also, there are no handrails, so it is an OSHA violation.
There's no such thing as OSHA.
No such thing as OSHA.
Space
And,
OSHA.
and it's a sufficiently advanced society. They've killed all the lawyers.
Yes, clearly.
And this was also litigated in Clerks when talking about like who's actually responsible for the employees
Yes.
working on the Death Star.
It's the independent contractor.
They knew exactly what they were signing up
Contract at their
for.
own risk.
Assumption of risk.
Exactly.
Yes.
They knew what they were signing up for.
Final thoughts, current legacy. I think we've talked about this pretty much in great length. I actually think, ironically, though, that after the sequel trilogy has come out, I do think there's more of a fondness for this or the sequel or the prequel trilogy. I don't know if anybody else agrees with that, but
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I've had a few conversations about that with like younger colleagues at work, and they have fully adopted the prequel trilogy as part of the saga, and at the same time ignore the existence of the sequel trilogy altogether.
Denounced.
Yeah, basically denounced it.
I concur. Well, I think that we've talked at great lengths about the Phantom Menace, Star Wars Episode 1. Part 4, final to wrap things up, our nerd outreach. So thank you. So I'm just going to say thank you to Justin for the copious amounts of editing you have to be doing
Yeah,
this
no
episode.
kidding, man.
Producer
Thank you.
Justin, you're the best. And then for all of the Lamberts, not all of them that I know, but a lot of them for showing up today. It's been a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for talking about Star Wars with me.
Tons of fun, man. Thank you.
It's been
Thanks for having
great.
us.
Thank you.
All right. So we love our listeners, so please rate, share. You can watch us also on YouTube for any of our nerd takes or nerd bites. Next episode preview, John and I don't know, maybe another Lambert, who knows. We'll be talking about a 1999 classic, Fight Club.
First rule of Fight Club.
You don't talk about Fight Club.
What's the second rule of Fight Club?
You do not talk about Fight Club. Until then, we'll see everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.